Indy cars are relentlessly fast. Take them to some city streets and just add water. Now you've got a recipe for a spectacle. And that's what we have for you today here in St. Petersburg, Florida. Tampa Bay is sparkling as much as the tens of thousands of fans who are here at this must-attend event that screams having fun. What an ideal spot for the season opener.
St. Pete is an amazing place, it's an amazing vibe. It sets the tone for the rest of the season.
First race of the year. It's nice to get going again.
Just a great atmosphere and bumpy. Yeah, bumpy.
My first ever IndyCar race. It's kind of an eye-opener to what IndyCar is.
The wall is your limit, and that's what I love.
Everyone is excited, everyone is looking forward to a new season. It's also a really cool place to go to. You have the beach there, you have the downtown.
I'm hungry to get back there and get another win.
After more than 5 months of off-season waiting, we wait no more because the 2023 NTT IndyCar season is here as we welcome you to IndyCar Live, presented by Liberty Mutual Insurance. It is a warm but beautiful Florida day, so appropriate to kick off this new racing season and a fabulous atmosphere. Welcome, folks, to a new season of IndyCar competition. Lee Diffie, along with Townsend Bell and James Hinchcliffe. Are you ready to see IndyCars race at about 170 miles through these city streets? 27 of them, in fact, and we most certainly are ready. T-Bell, what's got you all revved up for this new season?
Well, I think, Diff, you said it. It's 27 cars. That's the biggest field we've ever had here in St. Pete on a track that's only 1.8 miles long. What does that mean? They're going to fan out probably 5 or 6 wide on this runway down the front straightaway and then carve into the city streets. It's like a jungle in there, and I think jungle fever is going to break out today. And when it does, IndyCar drivers get irritable, they get aggressive, and a take-no-prisoners mentality.
Hinch, you know how to unlock the secret here. You won here your first IndyCar race a decade ago. What are we in store for today?
Honestly, guys, St. Pete is one of the toughest races to win on the calendar for a few different reasons. First off, it's the first race of the season. For a lot of these drivers, they've only been in the car 3 days since the checkered flag at Laguna Seca at the end of last year. Second, physicality. It's a bumpy street circuit. It's hot, it's humid here in Florida, and it's a long race. And finally, just the nature of this racetrack. Concrete barriers around every corner, 0 room for error, 1 millimeter off. It's going to put you in the wall and out of the race. And that's why putting it all together here is one of the toughest things all season long.
Practice and qualifying has been eventful so far this weekend, and you know that Swiss-born Frenchman Romain Grosjean, who now calls Florida home, he did 179 Formula One Grand Prix, never sat on the pole position. Yesterday, he won his 2nd career IndyCar pole, and he is thrilled, and he's standing by with our Kevin Lee. Kevo?
Well, Lee, I think it's safe to say that last year did not go according to plan and expectations in his first year with Andretti Autosport, but Romain Grosjean has started 23 in the best way possible. Why is this year going to be different?
It's just the car came alive at the end of last year. We made some setup changes that really brought it back to me, and the teams did an amazing job through the winter. I knew we were strong coming to Thermal and Sebring, and yesterday we proved it, so now we just have to keep going in the race.
It's not his first pole, but he is looking for his first IndyCar win. That's Romain Grosjean. Now to Marty Snyder.
Well, Kevin, Pato Ward took a big step forward with his best ever qualifying effort at St. Pete. He will start 3rd this afternoon. But Pato, between the heat and the humidity and this physical racetrack, what's the biggest challenge of the first race of the season?
Man, we've got 100 laps to do. It's a long race. It's humid, and it hasn't been particularly our best race in the past. But we had a great day yesterday. We qualified 3rd. We're starting in a really good place where we can take advantage of a lot of opportunities, and we're looking forward to it. We don't quite know what the green tire is going to do. Yeah. You know, we've seen a little bit of the guys that used it in warm-up, but it's hard to say.
No doubt. Pato agrees with almost everybody in the paddock, though, Diff. This is one of the most toughest physical races of the year, and it's the first one of the season as well.
Marty, his team, Arrow McLaren, will be one to contend with, but so too will the pole-sitting team, Andretti Autosport. Both James and Townsend have driven for Andretti in the past. Hinch, In unfamiliar territory, they start this new season with no previous champions and no previous Indianapolis 500 winners in their driver lineup. How do you see Andretti Autosport this year?
Yeah, it's a bit of a reset for that team. I'm not sure the last time they haven't had a champion or a 500 winner. Colton Herta, the most tenured driver there in his early 20s, sort of leading the team. But I know it's been a bit of a reset. Alexander Rossi out, Kyle Kirkwood in the number 27. A lot of time, energy, and resources went into improving this team over the offseason. And look, testing's been good, practice was good, qualifying was great. I think they may have found something for 2023.
I mean, they certainly should be happy, Diff, because you're talking about the first family of IndyCar racing with Mario, Michael, a winning driver, Marco, the grandson, also a winning driver. He's here this weekend, so expectations are high, but I think they should be confident in the performance they put forward over one lap in qualifying. The question I have is, can they do that over 100 laps in the race? Those are two totally different things.
Well, talking about strong teams, there's no doubt about Team Penske and Chip Ganassi Racing, because what's trying to happen here, if you're not part of those two organizations, is you're trying to stop their stranglehold on this championship, because those two organizations have won the last 10 titles combined. Let's talk about one driver and one of those teams from Team Penske, the defending series champion, Will Power, with Kevin.
He's got two of those, and as you said, the most recent. So last year you said you found something to help get you that second championship, but you wouldn't tell us. Are you ready to share?
It's honestly, it's simply just getting older. You accept what is. Yeah, you know, you're going to have your good and bad days and take what you can out of it.
What was obvious is that you took what was available. You won one time, but you finished up front. What's available to you today from 10th?
Yeah, similar. I mean, to last year, it's obviously insanely competitive field, a lot of good teams and drivers through the whole field. I think tyre strategy is going to play a part in it, and yeah, goal is to try getting that top 5.
Thanks, Will. Marty.
Well, Kevin, when you see names like two-time champion Joseph Newgarden and six-time champion Scott Dixon make wall contact in practice, you know the track has been difficult. Why has it been so unpredictable this weekend, Scott?
Yeah, good question. We were just chatting about it. It's been, a bit spicy out there, too. And I think the wind was probably a little bit of it. They've definitely resurfaced, I think, from turn 3 to 4. 4 is where I ended up. But for mine, it wasn't even a push lap. Didn't really think anything of it. Turned in and the rear totally went. So, it's definitely be interesting. I think throughout the race, especially the pit exit, turn 3 is going to be really tough. The Penske Bank car has been super good, man. Just bummed. I think we were in the top 3 of every session, apart from when it counted in Q2, and I think we were just too conservative on getting the car balance right. So we got a little bit of work today, starting in P9, but I think if we can find the front man, we can definitely win this thing.
I tell you what, Diff, that unpredictability that Scott talks about, that makes it fun for us at home to watch, right?
Oh, it certainly does, and that's the one that's got away from Scott Dixon winning here. It's got away from his team, Chip Ganassi Racing, but Ganassi and Penske are the powerhouse teams. Do you see anything changing in that over the course of this season?
Yeah, candidly, no. But today at St. Pete, anything's possible, especially with 27 cars and a lot of expected chaos here on the streets of St. Pete. Let's not forget, Penske's won 17 championships. They're the team to beat here.
I mean, they are, no doubt. Ganassi, they've got 14 themselves, and I think they go into this season with the strongest 4-car lineup they've had in a long time. You've got 2 champions, you've got an Indy 500 winner, and one of the hottest rookies globally in motorsports in Marcus Armstrong. I think they're going to be very strong.
All right, guys, let's wind the clock back just 12 months, because one of the drivers in those powerhouse teams is Scott McLaughlin of Team Penske. He won here a year ago when the 29-year-old Kiwi got the call from the captain, Roger Penske, to leave Australia and come stateside. The pressure was on, but he delivered.
The hardest thing about being a rookie and doing well is you end up putting a target on your back, and then you end up putting pressure on yourself.
Welcomes you, race 1 of 17. This is the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, and it is a career high moment for Scott McLaughlin of Team Penske, his first IndyCar pole.
When I got pole, I went to bed that night knowing I can win this race, and I know how to win this race.
Scott McLaughlin leads the race for Team Penske and is in control of this race.
The car was really good. I just felt good in the mind. I didn't have too much pressure on myself. Just knew what I needed to do.
The 28-year-old Kiwi has sustained the pressure. From pole to victory lane, Scott McLaughlin does it. He is now an IndyCar race winner.
That's how I felt my whole IndyCar career. It's not a matter of if it will happen. I knew it was a matter of when, with the win and with it all clicking.
Woo! Oh my God. It's unreal. Oh my God, I can't believe it.
And, you know, I felt like it just all clicked that day.
It's appropriate McLaughlin's first IndyCar win came at the place where he did his first IndyCar Series race. It's also appropriate we find our Dave Burns somewhere where he's having fun. Dave, where are you?
Lee, I'm in the middle of St. Petersburg Marina on a boat or a skiff, or I guess I'd have to call it a tiki taxi, because the reason it's here is to take folks from the shore over to these beautiful yachts that are moored nearby. That's a stage job. I just saw it as a great way to get a unique view of the St. Pete Grand Prix, which has been incredible. Do you realize 10 races over 3 days? So if you're a racing fan, they have you covered. If you're just into food and festival, well, they've got that done too. It started with Thursday's Party in the Park by IndyCar, and it has lasted all weekend long. It is a great place. They call St. Pete the Sunshine City, and it's delivered once again on that count. So you got to get yourself to St. Pete. You don't need a yacht. You don't need a tiki taxi. You just got to get here and experience the incredible access that IndyCar gives you to their cars and their stars. Speaking of which, Captain Dan, can we get this thing turned around and head back to pit lane? I got to get to work.
I'm on it.
I broke it.
Remember I said earlier, this is a must-attend event. If you haven't been, you've got to come. And as Dave said, let's get this thing going. So let's go to the pre-race ceremonies.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we ask that you please rise and remove your hats as the American Legion Post 273 at Madeira Beach presents our nation's colors. Please remain standing as Father Kevin Mackin offers today's invocation, and joining Father Mackin today to honor America with the singing of our national anthem, country music star Trace Adkins.
Let us bow our heads and pray. All good and compassionate God, we thank you this beautiful Sunday for your blessings as we gather to witness daring drivers competing in the first race of the season. Thank you for this splendid universe and for the works of human hands, bringing the competition today riding on Firestone. We applaud everyone from pit crew to fabricators. All are essential. Heavenly Father, bless our drivers as their engines make your presence heard through these city streets and beyond. As in life, thank you for helping us make the right moves with swift pace and careful use of brakes. Please guide the drivers safely from the green flag to the finish line. God bless the Grand Prix. God bless our city of St. Petersburg. And God bless America. Amen.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Boy, the voice of Firestone bringing it with the national anthem. A terrific rendition. Look at the scene here in St. Pete, and it's also brought out the celebrities here in St. Pete as well. How about Simu Liu of Marvel movie fame, also the upcoming movie Barbie as well. He'll be in the fastest seat in sports. LPGA legend Annika Sorenstam is the Grand Marshal today, and Chase Sexton, Supercross rider, off the podium last night in Daytona. Supercross, of course, next week will be in Indianapolis. Good to see all these folks out here today. You know, for Alexander Rossi, new faces and new places. He is among that, and lots of optimism. And the number 7 team at McLaren Racing today marks the new beginning for Rossi and his chapter in IndyCar history.
2023 certainly is a new beginning. You don't have to look very far to know that, like, my entire IndyCar career has been with one organization. You know, I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunity that I was given back in 2016 to join that team, and we had an amazing stretch with a lot of really positive moments.
A first-timer is going to win the 100th Indianapolis 500-mile race. California's Alexander Rossi.
Checkered flag! You just won the Indy 500, baby! Oh my God!
I leave that organization with honestly nothing but fondness. But certainly, you know, going to a new chapter this year and joining Arrow McLaren is an amazing opportunity. It's a team that has done nothing but grow, and from kind of being that, you know, younger brother-esque team that was always trying to kind of play with their bigger brothers, right, to being like they are now a constant threat for the championship every single weekend.
Pato Award!
Checker flag, baby. Excellent job. Well deserved.
He wins!
You know, for me, hopefully I can bring in, you know, a lot of experience and hopefully fill some of the gaps that they may have been missing. But ultimately, for me, it's just an amazing opportunity to join a race-winning, championship contending team, and I look forward to having an awesome year with them.
It's an exciting challenge that lays ahead for Alexander Rossi. He's finished on the podium here at St. Pete before. He'd love to do it for his new team today. NBC Sports, your home of motorsports, welcomes you to round 1 of 17 of the 2023 NTT IndyCar Series. This is the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. Yes, all 100 laps in 83-degree high humidity situation. This is going to be a tough test. 27 cars on this grid. There has never been that many at the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Pete. Let's highlight a couple of things. James Hinchcliffe, let's start with you. And you've got your eyes on Chip Ganassi Racing's Indy 500 winner, Marcus Ericsson.
I really do, Diff. He impressed me here so much last year. He was on course for a podium before a penalty late in the race threw him back. Still carved his way back up into the top 10 when not a lot of other cars were making passes. So for me, he's got a lot of confidence after winning the Indy 500. He's the fastest of the Chip Ganassi Racing cars in qualifying. They've been quick all weekend. I think the sneaky Swede's on course for a podium.
Well, Diff, for me, the pick, Team Penske, based on their stats. But more than picking Team Penske, I'm picking chaos and anger on the streets of St. Pete, because the first 2 days here, it's been wall banging all over the place. These drivers knocking down walls or trying to. There's a big hit from Stingray Robb. Champions, race winners, rookies, all hitting, not a fence, but an immovable, non-negotiable concrete wall here at St. Pete. It's going to be chaos. These guys are going to get hot, frustrated, and aggressive.
You guys ready to get this season started?
Yeah.
Cannot wait.
Let's do it. Let's go trackside for the command. 2023 is about to begin. Now, in the background, I did hear Annika Sorenstam, one of the greatest female golfers in the history of the game, to give the command of drivers, start your engines, and they are fired up. All 27 of them ready to go. There's the defending race winner, Scott McLaughlin. Can he do it again and begin the new season on the right foot? You're about to find out. We go racing when we come back. There's something special about race cars by the water, and for IndyCar, a season opener by the bay here in St. Petersburg, Florida, just feels right.
All right, everybody, we are 1 minute to the command. Let's listen for it on the PA. 1 minute. Radio check. Copy, loud and clear. Drivers to your cars, please. Drivers to your cars.
You know what tools you've got. You know what we're trying to do here to start this thing off. You do you.
No reason we can't win this race, man. Got to execute. Be there at the end, man. All right, boys. Been a good weekend so far. Let's finish strong.
Moments away from the green flag being dropped on a new IndyCar racing season. Let's show you the Firestone starting grid. It's an all-Andretti Autosport front row with Grosjean and Herta. Pato O'Ward leads the way for Arrow McLaren over the Indy 500 winner Marcus Ericsson. Young Floridian Kyle Kirkwood made the Firestone Fast Six for the first time, and then the defending race winner Scott McLaughlin. So let's go from one St. Pete winner to another. James Hinchcliffe is going to fire up Scotty Mack.
Hey, Scotty Mack, it's Hinch up here in the NBC booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, Hinch. How you doing?
Doing great, bud, but you still have the best seat in the house there. Now, you're the first car starting on those primary Firestones. You got a sea of alternates around you. How do you keep everybody at bay and put the thirsty threes in position to win back-to-back races here at St. Pete?
Oh, man, you got to be as brave as the guy that had the first oyster, to be honest. It's one of those deals where you just got to be on your toes, protect what you can at the start, and see what happens. Oh, well, there's fireworks going off here, boys. We're excited.
Well, there you go. Hopefully there's fireworks at the end for you, bud. Best of luck. Keep it clean.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
That's exactly what it was last year for Scott McLaughlin. He basically led 50% of this race in a really strong performance for his first career win. Time now for the Honda track preview. T-Bell, kick us off.
Yeah, you see the cars on track just curving into turn one, coming off that long airport runway that marks start finish. We're on board here with Romain Grosjean. This course numbers 14 turns in total. Grosjean down there in turn 4 right now, probably one of the best passing zones outside of the front straightaway. And now it gets really tight and cavernous as you wind through the concrete jungle section here. The walls are close, James. Really tough to run too wide through there.
Really technical part of the racetrack there. But it's a fun one. A lot of lap time to made and lost. You can also get caught behind slow cars or lap cars there and kill lap time, so it's important to get those passes done early.
IndyCar driver Oriol Servia behind the wheel of the new 2023 Honda Civic Type R with a new boosted 315 horsepower, and Honda celebrating 30 years of the Civic Type R. Okay, all the talk, all the waiting, all the anticipation, all the hype is over. It's time to go to work. It's time to go racing and enjoy the largest field of IndyCars ever at the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Pete. And for Romain Grosjean, coming from a world of Formula One and living and being raised in Europe and traveling and racing the world, Florida is now his home. His wife, Marion, and their 3 kids are here. They celebrated yesterday with him winning the NTTP1 award, but now it's time to see if Grosjean can win his first IndyCar race. His Andretti Autosport teammate is alongside. It's ready to go for a new racing season here in St. Pete, and Grosjean launches.
Grosjean with a great jump. That's what you want. Try to get clear of all those animals coming from behind, and it's Pato O'Ward firing up the inside.
Look at Alex Palou down there in the blue and white car, 3 wide through turn 1, Townsend. He's going to try the outside of turn 2. They're filing through side by side. This is where we've seen so many problems and contact already for a McLaren.
I think that's Rosenquist. Felix Rosenquist with more damage in the back. The track is total chaos.
Looks like Devlin DiFrancesco airborne. Simon Pagenaud I see in the wall. His teammate Elio Castro Neves sideways. Huge accident down. The track is blocked. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a red flag here.
And Stingray Robb, one of the 4 rookies involved. I think Benjamin Peterson as well. 2 of the 4 in that crash are rookies. That is huge, and that's what can happen on street course racing.
That was the fear with a field this size. Carving it through turn 1, you can go 2 or 3 wide, but there's just not room in this section. Now we're seeing these 5 cars disabled here in the middle of the track, but that doesn't include the other cars that had contact, like Felix Rosenquist, that probably led to this chain reaction. There's the 06 of Elio Castro Neves climbing out.
Big jump there. You see the red flag. That's the right call. They'll pull all the cars into pit lane in the running order. Luckily, it looks like every driver is getting out. A little bit of a limp there, it looks like, from Elio Castro Neves. Going to go check on teammate Simon Pagenaud.
And both Meyer Shank Hondas involved in that wreck. There's Simon Pagenaud, champion and Indy 500 winner, pulling himself out of his number 60 machine. Boy, oh boy, and it all started with that wounded Arrow McLaren Chevy of Felix Rosenquist. Is Pagenaud okay? He's shaking his head. His teammate Castro Neves goes over to check the health and welfare of him as Elio winces with his sore leg.
Devlin DiFrancesco going airborne like that and coming straight down on the car. That's a big shock through the back of the driver. There's not a lot of suspension on these things. So let's take a look at where it started.
You're going to see Rosenqvist, I believe there, that's his teammate, those two orange and blue McLarens, and then further back, I'm not even sure this was related, Hinch.
It looks like maybe, I want to say it was Santino Ferrucci, no, David Malukas, I think. No, Santino Ferrucci, sorry, and the black car got into the back, oh my goodness, of one of the shank cars.
I think it was Ferrucci and Castro Neves that came together further back. Castro Neves looks like he got hit from behind and spun.
And you see Devlin DiFrancesco stop, then gets hit by Benjamin Peterson, and that's what launches his car up in the air. I've never seen a hit quite like that. Here's an onboard from Simon Pagenaud.
Crashing. Stay left, go right.
Rosenqvist's view. Now watch Scott Dixon on the inside. Look to your right.
Side by side through 2. It's not going to work through 3. Scott Dixon just hit checks Felix into the wall. That's what creates this chain reaction. Drivers checking up in what's normally a flat-out corner. And then you see there the black car. That's Santino Ferrucci into the back of Elio Castroneves. Devlin DiFrancesco goes around. Stingray Robb swerves and hits Pagenaud. Wow, I have never seen anything like that, Townsend.
That was a massive T-bone. The last time I saw that, I think, was at Phoenix with Hiro Mashusta and Jacques Villeneuve, a T-bone of that magnitude.
Watch who does the Houdini here. Joseph Newgarden in the Hitachi Chevy gets around Felix Rosenqvist.
I think Rahal got into the back of DiFrancesco, which is what got him sideways when DiFrancesco was checking up for the accident with Castro. I mean, we can go on and on. Just a massive chain reaction.
And really all just starts with that contact Felix Rosenqvist had with Scott Dixon, sends him into the outside wall. Here's on board from Juncos Hollinger Racing, Callum Ilott. He just snuck through with Rinus VeeKay there as well. Minor contact, but no damage. And here's Graham Rahal. It's so tough. You're sitting so much lower than this driver camera shows. So the drivers, they can't see even as far around the corner as we can from this perspective. It's so hard on a blind corner.
And I correct myself, Rahal didn't get into the back of anybody. That was a red and white car up ahead of Rahal that got into the back of DiFrancesco. And for Benjamin Peterson at the back, I saw he was tucked up behind the gearbox of somebody and then looked to make a move at the last second when the accident had already happened in front of him.
That's Santino Ferrucci's car, the Sexton Properties Chevy for AJ Foyt Racing, his return to full-time IndyCar. And you saw no front end on Stingray Robb's car after the most savage crash. Watch Devlin DiFrancesco get launched. That was violent. We're back, and we have begun a new racing season for the NTT IndyCar Series, but we've come to an abrupt halt after a spectacular crash on the opening lap that involved 7 cars. Some had very close escapes, others are severely damaged. It was wild to say the least, but that's what happens on street course racing. Sometimes you get away with it, sometimes you do not. The initial contact happened between Scott Dixon and Felix Rosenqvist. Watch those 2 orange and blue cars in the middle of your screen. No contact yet, it's coming.
Same colors, but 2 different teams, and there's the contact with Dixon on Rosenqvist. Just a hip check, nothing intentional.
And then the real issues start behind. The checkup starts, and that massive impact. Benjamin Peterson into Devlin DiFrancesco, who was sitting stationary. Let's watch it in real time. This is scary stuff. There's the contact with Felix Rosenqvist, the checkup. And now just wait for this, the red car. Boom. I have never seen a car go airborne like that after being stationary. Thank goodness Devlin DiFrancesco got out okay.
It was the succession of Ferrucci into Castroneves. And then
now look back. I just want to see what actually caused the accident further back. I'm looking.
Watch the black car. Under the bridge.
Oh, it was a checkup from Malukas and then
Castroneves.
Who got into the back of, was that Ferrucci? I think that was Ferrucci into the back of Castroneves.
Yeah. Wow, that was crazy.
And then it snowballed.
On board, number 20, Connor Daly. Man, was he lucky. What an escape there for Connor Daly. Chaos all around. right as Devlin DiFrancesco goes around, he just threads the needle and gets through. Massive cleanup required, not just the race cars, all the debris, Townsend. You want to make sure every bit of carbon fiber that's broken off these cars gets swept up or blown away. That can cut tires down later in the race.
Yeah, there's three things, Diff. There's spent rubber, there's concrete off the walls, so pieces of the track or wall to clean up, and then car pieces. These are the cars involved in the crash.
And look at that, those two pink-colored cars, Castro Neves and Pagano, when things could not be going any better for Meyer Shank Racing, defending their victory in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship at the Rolex 24 back in January. Things were rosy, and they've come to an abrupt halt here at the season opener at the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. This was the escape of the day for Connor Daly. My goodness. And that is the aftermath.
Was always destined for greatness. Tinned up on time, no lateness. These MCs, they can't shake us. Send them back to their makers. Can't take me for some Dibby MC. Dibby Dibby A to the Dibby Dibby B. Not skibbity, but trust me, you will see when I jump on the mic, it gets beat.
There you go. You saw the full talent lineup of Chip Ganassi Racing's NTT IndyCar season for 2023. 4 cars ready to go. You can add Takuma Sato to the driver lineup for the Ovals and the Indianapolis 500 as Taku is back to try and win his 3rd. But let's talk right here, right now, and center of your screen is 6-time IndyCar Series champion Scott Dixon, who was involved in early contact, and Hinch is going to dial him up and have a chat with Scott.
Hey, Scott, it's Hinch up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Pretty crazy start to the race here. A lot of action. Most of it was behind you, but it seemed to have started with a little bit of contact in turn 2 between yourself and Felix Rosenqvist. First off, did you feel the contact? And second, did you even know he was there?
Yeah, firstly, just hope everybody was okay, you know, and secondly, you know, Felix is my best friend, man, and feel really sad that we made contact there. It's kind of where that, you know, the area through, you know, exit 2 or through 3, it kind of funnels, and then kind of the outside wall comes in, and honestly, I thought it was clear and felt just a small rub, but then obviously saw in the mirror that kind of backed up the traffic there, and figured it must have been a slightly bigger hit than I thought for him, so I feel really bad for Felix.
It's always tough for drivers in these situations. You know, you're mentally prepared to get in the race, get 100 laps going, and then to have a red flag after you just get started. How do you sort of reset, especially knowing it was a big accident, a lot of debris, to just kind of get that focus back and get your head in the game?
Yeah, I think all of us are just ready to get going. You know, obviously, we never want to see that. And again, I reiterate, I hope everybody was okay. It looked like a pretty violent crash kind of back in the pack there, but ready to go here, man. The PNC Bank number 9's been fast all weekend. We just need to move up some spots here, but I think we've got a great car and looking forward to getting going here.
Just real quick, Scott, we know it's hot in these race cars, but you've got a 180-mile-an-hour wind coming at you. How hot is it right now just sitting there baking in the sun?
Yeah, it's not easy. I probably would have decided to maybe run a cool suit now. Would have helped a little bit, but I've got a nice umbrella here and a little bit of a fan, so I'm pretty comfortable right now.
All right, bud. Well, I'm glad you're comfortable. Hopefully you're comfortable when the green flag drops again. Best of luck.
I appreciate it. Cheers.
And at the age of 42, a lot of people will come to Scott Dixon's defense to say just how incredibly fit he is, and he'll be able to sustain and handle these ambient temperatures with heat and humidity, not a problem. Now, he spoke about his dear friendship with Felix Rosenqvist. They were teammates not that long ago, and Scott feels bad about that. Let's get the other side of the story with Rosenqvist, with Kevin Lee.
And I'll relay that as well. The first thing Scott Dixon said when they just talked to him on the radio is how bad he feels because you're his best friend. He thought he was clear. What did you see in your view of the incident?
Yeah, it felt like he didn't see that I was there. It's kind of like hard to see on the camera, but the wall comes back on the left, and we're going. You know, I never expected him to swerve out and take kind of normal racing line because we were side by side, and you know, I was just, you know, I didn't really try to go on the outside. I was just kind of trying to get through the first couple of turns. You know, he was on the red, so he probably would have got me anyways, but I was just hanging there, and I think he didn't know I was there. So yeah, it sucks. We had a good chance today. I think we had to get this thing back to the garage, and hopefully we can be back for just kind of get through some pit stops and some running. But yeah, really bummed about it. It's just not the way we want to start.
And then behind you, there was even more chaos. How much concern did you have, especially as we watch the other series, the junior formulas, sports cars here this weekend, about this kind of thing happening?
I mean, we raced here many times before, and it's been fine. I think, you know, sometimes it just happens. I just hope everyone's okay. So it was one of the, one car was in the air there. Hopefully he's okay. But yeah, it's, you know, it's street racing. We have to give each other room, and maybe it's something we have to talk about. But it's hard racing in IndyCar, and it can go that way quickly if you start touching in that section.
Thanks, Felix. Pretty big damage to the left rear, so they'll try to fix that and get some laps to learn some things today. Today, Burns.
Well, Kevin, I'm outside the IndyCar medical unit, and that is where Devlin DeFrancesco, thankfully, has walked away. I just told him, I said, I'm shocked to see you come out first because you took the wildest ride. You okay?
Yeah, no, I'm fine. You know, we had a hard knock, you know, not the way we wanted to start the season. And the number 29 capstone Andretti Steinbrenner Honda, you know, qualifying was fairly promising yesterday after not driving in for free practice too. You know, we had our concerns with turn 3. We made IndyCar very aware of it. You know, there were multiple incidents there all weekend. It's been slippery, and, you know, that was the scenario that happened.
Walk us through the end there, Dev, and is that just a time when a driver waits, and is just praying something doesn't happen?
Effectively, yes. You know, I saw Helio spinning in front of me and really was on the brakes and there was nowhere to go. And then I saw the 55 coming. I was like, yeah, this is going to be a big one. So just braced up and got ready for it. It was a wild ride.
Glad you're okay. Sorry that season had to start this way, but Devlin's okay. That's the greatest news, guys.
The way that car popped up in the air, Townsend, we were just talking about it in the break, it looked like an iRacing crash. It didn't look real. I've never seen anything quite like it. And that sort of side impact, I was worried about Devlin's legs or his ankles maybe having some sort of issue. So glad to see he's okay. And again, that just speaks volumes for the safety of these Indy cars.
Yeah, that was an explosion of impact and force launching him into the air. So great to see he's all right. As you said, one of the smaller drivers in the field, a lot of padding in the cockpit just to get him, you know, in the right seating position. So very fortunate, Diff.
Incredibly fortunate. The cars and drivers remaining in the race sit stationary waiting for the cue from race control that it's time to go back to racing, and that's not far away, and that was a wild crash. This beautiful Tampa Bay region on Florida's central Gulf Coast has been spoiled recently with world-class motorsport. Monster Energy Supercross was here just a few weeks ago, and now it's time for the NTT IndyCar Series to roar back into life for the 20th time here on the streets of St. Petersburg and Albert Whitted Airport. It is truly a unique track, so much so we're going to take you to the GMR track facts and walk you through a few key figures.
Yeah, 1.8 miles. It makes it one of the shortest circuits on the schedule, probably the shortest circuit. And with 14 turns, that means there's a lot happening in just 1.8 miles. 100 lap distance overall. You'll probably see 2, maybe 3 pit stops. I think 2 stops is the winning strategy. First race back here in 2003. Local resident Sebastian Bourdais was on pole. Our mate Paul Tracy getting it done.
Guys, you saw that shot of the grandstands. People in there, they're fanning themselves. It's hot sitting out there in the sun, and that's when you're in a hat and a t-shirt with a cold drink in your hand. Imagine having 4 layers of Nomex, a helmet, sitting in an enclosed cockpit. I promise you, those drivers are baking in those race cars right now. This is not what they want to be doing.
Hopefully not for much longer. We just got word from race control, 1 minute until the command to fire the engines. That's great news, and it's also good news that nobody seriously injured from that incredible crash. Let's get an update on another driver and team involved in that crash.
Good news for 21-year-old Stingray Robb from Idaho. All things considered, it sounds like, as we listen to some radio communication from a moment ago, that they'll be back out.
When it goes yellow, we can fix crash damage, so we'll replace the tires, we'll put a nose on, we'll send you out. You'll surely be at the end of the field, I would think.
And they just want to get laps for him today, but he's going to be packed up with the rear end of the field. Dale Coyne said, we think it's only the front wing, and you see that puncture on the front left as well.
And the reason the car's just sitting there is under red flag conditions, you're not allowed to work on the race car. That's why Felix Rosenquist's car was still sitting there. But now we see the yellow flags waving, the caution is waving. You see the crew come over the wall. They can start getting to work, and these drivers are going to fire up and get back to racing.
We've seen some crazy stuff here in St. Pete over the years, but that is the wildest.
I mean, we think back to Marco Andretti ending up upside down in turn 1 a few years back, but you're right. That is unlike any IndyCar crash I have ever seen. And again, enough cannot be said about the work that goes in behind the scenes from everyone in IndyCar and Dallara, the company that manufactures the chassis, on the safety of these cars.
Townsend, how do you reset mentally as a driver? You get all amped up, the green, here we go, wherever you are, in the field, whatever your grid position was, and then it all comes to a grinding halt. You're okay, your car's okay, your team's all right, but how do you sit there and mentally digest that and then refire yourself?
Well, I think you heard it in the voice of Scott Dixon, a 6-time champion. You don't ever get out of focus. You stay in that state, focused on what's going to happen when we refire. What do I need to do on these pace laps to clean up my tires? That's a big deal. Tires got hot for half a lap. Not even that. Then you circulate slowly. Then you sit on pit lane with red flags. I was out looking at the sticker alternate tires on many of these cars before the race. I've never seen them so dirty, frankly, just rolling out to pit lane. So I think there's going to be a lot of debris on these tires. And as a driver, you just got to think, what's the next step in this process? Forget about what just happened. Respect the fact that it's going to be tight and treacherous, but focus forward on the job at hand, which is cleaning your tires, getting your brakes warm, and get ready to go at it again.
There's still plenty to unpack. Let's join Marty Snyder. What you got, mate?
Yeah, Lee, nobody played the start of the race better than Alex Palou, who gained 2 spots and wanted a little love from his team for the start of the race. Listen.
Hey, by the way, that was a great job on the start there.
Yeah, thank you. I was waiting for you to tell me something. I was going to bring it up, by the way. Let's focus forward.
And then Barry Wanzer, a strategist, went on to say, Townsend, I didn't want to pump you up too early in the race. You got to keep your driver down a little bit. But remember last year in this race, Pato started 9th, finished 2nd, showing once again a prowess here at St. Pete to gain spots on restarts.
Palou, such a calm, cool, collected driver. I think the closest thing to Scott Dixon-like mentality, Palou's already got 1 championship. They're teammates. He's clearly learned from the master there in the orange and blue PNC car from Dixon, and it really paid off for him on that chaotic start.
You and Hinch know how important the communication is from pit box to driver and both ways. I love the maturity of Alex Palou. Even in his championship winning season, he had a turn 1 incident in Portland with his teammate Scott Dixon and came back. He was at the back of the field and said to his team in a pit stop, come on guys, let's rally, let's go, we can win this. He did, and that was a pivotal race in his championship winning season.
Yeah, his mentality and his approach ever since he got to the IndyCar series has been so impressive. And you talk about that relationship, driver to engineer. It's like a coach quarterback in football. You have to have that good communication, understand what makes each other tick. And right now, I think that 10 car with Alex Palou and Chip Ganassi Racing is just in absolute harmony.
Well, I'll tell you what you're going to have to get in harmony with is your tires, because they've now been heat cycled. All those sticker alternate tires that many of these drivers started with that were concerned about how long will they last, it's going to be more challenging now because they've been through a heat cycle. So we're at lap 3 right now. Just wait until about lap 15 or 20. I think you're going to hear a whole bunch of complaining on the radio as those alternate tires start to fall off, as they're designed to do.
United Rentals onboard view from Graham Rahal. He's all fired up. The 3-car effort again for Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan Racing. Swap of numbers for Jack Harvey and Christian Lundgaard, in case you're looking. Lundgaard now drives the high V number 45. Jack Harvey is in the 30. And here comes Joseph Newgarden, who had a miraculous escape as well. Marty, he skipped through all of the mayhem and had an undamaged car.
Somehow, and I think Tim Cindric's call here to bring Joseph Newgarden, the 2-time champion and 2-time winner here at St. Pete down pit road, is because they're going to put on sticker primary tires. As Townsend mentioned a moment ago, there's a heat cycle on all those tires, Kevin, so these stickers will give Newgarden an advantage on the restart. He'll be one to watch.
Rinus VeeKay was one of those that we saw just a little bit of cosmetic damage. They did nothing, though, other than top off on Shell fuel and primary Firestone. So he already told me we're probably coming in, if it stays green, around lap 10 to get rid of the alternates. So now they're on to the primaries.
It's an interesting strategy, Townsend, coming in and making that swap. They did not do one of the tire changes that's mandatory, in the sense that 2 different compounds of tires, the black sidewall primaries, the green sidewall alternates, but problems for Connor Daly in the bitmile.com Chevy.
I'm not sure what they were working on down the cockpit, if it was tightening his belts or working on one of the many cooling systems. You've got the air hose, as you see there, probably a cool suit system for Connor Daly, and then also a drink system.
Yeah, a few things to unpack there on the strategy side of things. You can go into this race thinking about doing a 2-stopper. You can think about doing a 3-stopper. Right now, these yellow flag laps, these help the 2-stoppers. This really makes it a lot harder to think that a 3-stopper is going to be the ideal strategy. But Joseph Newgarden taking a gamble. He lost a little bit of track position to go get those fresh Firestones. It's going to be interesting. He's going to have to make those passes on track for this strategy to pay off. But if there's a guy that can get it done, as we watch the Hitachi on board, it's Joseph Newgarden.
Qualifying didn't go to plan for the two-time champ and two-time winner here yesterday. I was talking to his new engineer, Luke Mason, earlier today. He said, that aside, we know, and Joseph knows, we've got a great race car, and there was a lot of enthusiasm, Marty, in our race truck yesterday afternoon. Despite the qualifying effort and not making the Firestone Fast 6, we still feel we can win.
They know they have the speed, Lee, and I think this call hinge, to answer your question, allows them to take this first run, effectively first run of the day, way longer. And I think that's the theory here. Keep Newgarden down as long as he can go. And also, remember, all those cars that are now out of the race, there is some traffic that will not be there because of that big wreck.
5 cars officially out of the race. Elio Castro-Neves, Simon Pagenaud, Devlin Di Francesco, Santino Ferrucci, and Benjamin Peterson. The field is packed up with Romain Grosjean in the DHL Honda at the head of the field, just like he saw the initial green, with teammate in the Gainbridge Honda, Colton Herta, behind. Remember Colton 2 years ago when he dominated this race, led almost every single lap, and then tucked in behind is an anxious and excited Pato O'Ward, who doesn't want to be a championship contender this year. He wants to be a champion this year. Here he is. The young Mexican is ready to pounce on his former teammate back in the Indy Lights days. Green flag flies here in St. Pete. Let's try for the second time. Here we go. The Firestone Grand Prix is underway.
A little bit of oversteered wheel spin from Colton Herta coming off the last corner, so a great jump from Romain Grosjean as they all seem to be pretty much in line. It's Marcus Armstrong looking at the inside of Alexander Rossi, but unable to make the pass.
Armstrong in that green Ganassi car, looked to make a move, but tucked in there. Got to be careful on this street paint and airport paint, especially on these opening laps when the tires are still cold. That's David Malukas, I think, with contact to the back of Armstrong. It looks like it flatted the right rear.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see it down there. The left front popping up in the air. Probably wing damage to the 18 of David Malukas as well. But now Marcus Armstrong has to just gingerly get that green ridge line number 11 back to the pits to get that changed.
It was just a tickle of that right rear, but the end fences are brutally sharp at that kind of speed.
What a shame for the 22-year-old Kiwi. He did really well in qualifying yesterday in his very first IndyCar Series race. He's got to limp a long way back to pit lane to get help from his Ganassi squad. We ride with Colton Herta.
And you can see the green lights on his dash. That indicates he's on the push to pass. That's about a 50 horsepower advantage you can use. 150 seconds available to the drivers, so you have to be strategic on how and when you use it. Both drivers, I bet, on the button that time.
And you're seeing teammates here with Grosjean and Herta exercising the Andretti Autosport authority that they've shown on setup and pace so far. Already opened up about a second gap there and growing to Pato O'Ward.
Hinch mentioned 150 seconds of push to pass, and you can use it in a maximum of 15-second deployments. But it's looking good. A couple of Hondas ahead of a Chevrolet at the moment, and then the Indy 500 winner Marcus Ericsson ahead of his teammate Alex Palou. Kyle Kirkwood has been a featured driver this year. Look for the first pink car. There it is there. It's the only pink car left in the field, the Auto Nation Honda. This young Floridian in his second year in the NTT IndyCar Series has been spectacular in practice, but in qualifying right here, he smashed the outside wall, just pushing a little too hard, outbraked himself, but he learned from it. He was extremely positive in his interview with Kevin Lee, and he said, hey, my first Firestone Fast 6, I learned from it, we're ready to go, we're still at the head of the field.
Yeah, he takes over that 27 program, one of the strongest cars in terms of crew and engineering with Jeremy Millis that Alexander Rossi occupied for so many years, on board here with Kirkwood, wrestling through turn 3, and he's hanging right with Indy 500 winner Marcus Ericsson, IndyCar champion Alex Palou, and for Kyle Kirkwood, who calls Palm Beach, actually Jupiter, just on the other coast home, this is a great day in the Florida spring.
I asked him once, are you going to move permanently to Indianapolis? He said, I can't, I'm a Florida boy. I just can't. I need blue skies and beaches. Hey, let's keep cycling through the drivers involved in that lap 1 crash. Let's hear from Santino Ferrucci with Dave Burns.
Yep, and he's walked out from the IndyCar medical unit. You okay? And how bad was that?
Yeah, I'm totally fine. You know, I'm just more heartbroken for AJ Foyt, Sexton Properties 14 car. You know, it's one of those things where when you have an accordion effect like that, there's really nothing you can do, and it's not like the Speedway you have spotters where everybody's checking up. You're relying on what you see right in front of you, and no, you know, everybody checked up. I'm on the prime tire compared to everyone in front of me was on the alternates, and I just smoked the brakes and straight into the back of Elio, and funny enough, we were actually going to be okay coming through because it was just a front wing, but I guess when we came out of the corner, the way either he spun or something happened, it hit my right rear, and that's kind of what killed our race. So just really upset for the boys. You know, we've been working really hard. We had a fantastic qualifying, and yeah, just would love to vlog some laps and get some time on our dampers and our program and see where we can improve from there.
Sure glad you're okay. And Lee, the worst part, of course, is that both AJ Foyt racing cars taken out in that initial melee.
And by the way, Dave, thanks for that. We will continue to hear from the drivers involved in the accident once they're released from the medical center.
Here's something I'm watching. These Andretti cars, Grosjean and Herta, I think you got to get on the radio here to Colton Herta and say, hey, you guys are pulling away from Pato Award. Don't burn up your alternates and get us in trouble early. Just slot in here, hold position, save your car, save your tires, because lap 10, Kevin, in about another 10 laps, if you push too hard, they're going to be going backwards.
Townsend, you're hired. That's exactly what they're telling the two drivers. Talking about the gap, they're pulling away, manage the tires. And from speaking with Brian Herta, who is the strategist and the father of Colton Herta, that's what he was most concerned about. Nobody's really done more than about 16 laps on the alternates, so they're hoping to get to 28 they love, and this caution helps to get to around 30 or so.
Yeah, and Kevin, I think further back, the car to watch now is McLaughlin for exactly that reason. He's the first car on the harder compound primary. I think Team Penske is the best over the distance. So McLaughlin right now is probably just chilling. He's waiting until the cars in front start to fall apart a bit on the softer compound, and that's where we'll see McLaughlin pounce. It's going to happen, I think, in about another 10 laps or so.
And that's their plan on McLaughlin's strategy stand, Townsend, is they're going to go as long as they can go. And in fact, if other people had pitted and taken off their alternate tires, Kyle Moyer said, we're staying out no matter what. So to the point Kevin made a moment ago, they're going to go as long as they can go with this three car, and that's where their pace was when they won the race last year. And real quick, his teammate Diff, way back, Joseph Newgarden, now in 16th, just made a pass for that 16th spot. He had a punctured right rear. That's why they had to come and make that stop a moment ago.
That makes a little more sense than the strategy call. So now will be fun to watch Joseph Newgarden try and cut his way up through the field from down in 16th.
Here's the thing, Diff. Are Grosjean and Herta listening? 4-second gap to Award.
And it's really advantaged Grosjean in a sense because Colton Herta running under a second behind Romain Grosjean. He's running in that dirty air. You just don't have as much downforce on the car, which means you have to work the tire harder. So the fact that Colton's able to stay this close tells me he's probably got a little bit more speed in the pocket, but he is definitely using more of his Firestone tires to keep the gap that small.
Another driver has been released from the medical center. Let's hear from Simon Pagenaud. Marty? Dave,
and Lee, yep, that's all right, Lee. I'll take it. Simon is with us now. Are you okay? And what did you see?
Oh yeah, I'm okay. A little finger issue, but I mean, I saw a checkup. I saw that it slowed down. I kind of expected it, to be honest. It's been such a tricky area all weekend. So I'm on the brakes coming into that corner because I see it's checking up, but I have no room to go with Stingray turning right so hard. So fortunate to end the race there. I thought I went through, man. I thought I made it, but it's kind of my strong suit to avoid the crashes. But this one, I couldn't do anything. It's very unfortunate for the whole team. Unfortunately, we're paying a hard price from yesterday's mistake in qualifying. So we're going to regroup, and you know, we have fast cars, so that's not a problem.
Meyershank Racing, another team with both cars out, including Simon.
Tough day for the AutoNation Sirius XM cars of Meyershank Racing. So it's Romain Grosjean who's led every lap thus far over his teammate Colton Herta here in St. Pete. For all you IndyCar fans watching, now is your chance to drive away with a new Corvette courtesy of Hy-Vee. All season long, enter for a chance to win one of 4 Corvettes. Grab your mobile device right now, scan the QR code on your screen, and enter. We wish you all the best of luck. That's a pretty cool prize. Welcome back to the streets of St. Pete, Firestone Grand Prix. Lee Diffie, James Hinchcliffe, Townsend Bell with you, along with Marty Snyder and Kevin Lee and Dave Burns on a warm but fun day. here in the Tampa Bay region. Not so much fun for David Malukas of HMD Motorsports with Dale Coyne Racing. He clipped the back of young rookie Marcus Armstrong, and race control said, you know what, that's not the go. That's not fair, and had to serve a drive-through penalty for that because it impeded Armstrong.
Yeah, it was a fair defensive move from Armstrong, just moving to the middle of the racetrack. David Malukas sort of misjudging it a little bit, and because of the cut tire, sent Armstrong back to the pits and essentially back to the end of the line. IndyCar thought it fair to give an avoidable contact penalty to the number 18. And this car and its crew are worried a little bit about front wing damage. You can see the driver's left on the right-hand side of your screen. That's flopping around a lot more than the other side. So that car not performing at its optimum. They have to make a decision on whether or not they want to change that in the next pit stop.
Well, running at or near the back right now, so not much lost. If a full course caution comes out, they'd have time to do the wing swap from the back of the field and not lose a lap. But up front, Grosjean and Herta now 6.7 seconds over the Arrow McLaren Apollo Award.
We've heard from almost every driver involved in the Lap 1 crash. Here is the latest. Helio Castro-Neves with Dave Burns.
He has an ice pack on his right hand, Lee. More dramatically, he's sitting on a golf cart because we saw you limp away. How are you?
I'm very good. By the way, incredible from the AMR safety crew. They did an amazing job. This facility that IndyCar has now, it's absolutely paying off. It's a shame that I have to try it out, but they took an X-ray, everything is fine. This pain, I noticed, and I told them, look, it's just like when you hit your funny bone, you know, in the chair, you're like, that hurts, but it's all good. Now it's just put a little ice, so everything will be fine. In terms of what happened, no idea. Just got hit from behind. I saw it, obviously, everybody slowing down, and you just got to be proactive in situations like that. But got turned around, and next thing I thought was a car flying over. But thank God that he have the halo or the aero screen, which is phenomenal by safety standards with the IndyCar series. So happy that for the amount of crash that we had there, for me and everybody coming out without any issues. Big kudos to the IndyCar series.
And Elio, the X-ray was of exactly what?
Yeah, negative. There was
no, but on which bone?
It was the right leg. It was kind of like here on the lower on the knee, and but all good. Thank God, everything is fine.
We're thankful to Helio Castro-Neves out of the race, but in better shape than he may have looked when he first hopped out, Lee.
Well, and Helio giving props there to you know, IndyCar and the AMR safety team and the medical facility and IndyCar's medical team. But how about the structural integrity and the robust nature of the cars, especially for Devlin DeFrancesco to be thrown in the air like a cork, come flying down, and he's okay, and all of the drivers escaping any serious injury. We get back to a happier story, and that involves the Frenchman Romain Grosjean leading the way, has led all 17 laps thus far. Last time he led a race was on an oval at Worldwide Technology Raceway, so he's enjoying time out in front on a street circuit.
Yeah, looks like smooth sailing. Lap 19 of 100 here, still on those alternates, but just ride and listen, because throttle control will tell us a lot on how those rear tires are doing. Well, if Michael Andretti's listening, he should be super encouraged, because his Andretti Autosport team has nailed it. Here you are, 2/3 of the way through a tire stint on the softer alternates, and I see nothing but confidence and stability at the back end of these race cars.
You want to hear what the team's saying? Let's go there. Let's do Snoop Cam. Let's go inside Andretti Autosport.
All right, that's 15 laps complete. As long as you tell me these tires are going to be okay, we'd still like to take this another 15.
Yeah, just some great communication back and forth from his stand. That's Josh Freund on the microphone there, his strategist. You saw Michael Andretti, the team owner, standing alongside. And just cool and calm right now. That's what it's all about. They're very much in control of this race. But it also shows you, Townsend, how important clean air is. These two kind of running off by themselves, but their sister car, who was just as quick as them throughout practice, Kyle Kirkwood, stuck in a train of cars, and he's now 10.2 seconds behind his teammates. So it just shows you, you really want that clean air.
And Marty, you know who'll be watching this closely is the number 3 crew of Scott McLaughlin. They'll be watching this onboard saying, hey, where's this tire degradation we were promised? Because at some point, McLaughlin might have to start getting up in the seat and making some moves.
Yeah, that's exactly right. All of the primary tire cars, which is Scott McLaughlin in 7th, Scott Dixon in 8th, and Will Power sitting back in 9th. In fact, a moment ago, Kyle Moyer told McLaughlin, we're in our window almost, meaning he's going to tell him in a minute, you can stop saving fuel back there and riding back there, Lee, and start attacking. So the primary tires should become an advantage here at the end of the run. That lap 18, 19, and right now we're working lap 21 is when those alternates start to fall off, and we're hearing a lot of drivers on the alternate stiff saying, hey, these tires are really going away fast.
And while Romain Grosjean is flying up front here at Albert Whitted Airport, he literally flew here recently because in addition to being a 10-time Formula One podium winner and 179 F1 Grand Prix starts, his latest accomplishment is becoming a pilot. And he flew himself here recently. This is him coming into land on one of the runways here at Albert Whitted Airport, and he said it's one of the smoothest landings he's had. It's one of the nicest places he's ever flown into, and maybe that was a good sign. Maybe that was an omen for this weekend, fellas.
And Hinch, much like an airplane, you can see his right hand going down, making a front roll bar adjustment, almost like the flaps on that twin-engine Beechcraft that he brought in here. But how cool. You're leading the IndyCar race at St. Pete. You landed on this runway. He's laying claim to this town.
Yeah, a little faster than the 95 miles an hour he came in to land. He's doing about 170 at the end of that runway before he gets to turn 1, and he is really just covering it nicely. And what he's covering right now is his teammate Colton Herta. And Kevin, I understand you know a little bit more about the 26 Gamebridge Honda.
Well, he is gapping Colton Herta. When I asked Colton before the race if you have any concerns, he said, no, not much concerns me. It's going great. Let's check in now on what they're saying on the radio.
Do we even care about a fuel number on these tires? Yeah, it might come into play. We're going to be going like 2 seconds slower though pretty soon. Okay, let's just baby the tires then. Just take care of those things.
And then an update just about 45 seconds ago. Remember I said Brian was concerned about tire deg at lap 18 or 19, so longer than that. He said the tires are really starting to drop off. Colton Herta is ready to move on to the primaries.
Doesn't matter. It's too early. He can't quite do it yet. He said, is a fuel number even matter on these tires? The answer is still yes. You've got to make it to a certain point to not have an incredibly long stint for your next 2 on the primaries. But no, this is going to be interesting to see how that crossover point between the primaries and alternates shakes out.
This is not particularly encouraging, seeing Newgarden under attack from Rinus VeeKay and Connor Daly with a huge gap in front of Newgarden. He did have to pit for a flat tire earlier.
And VeeKay came in at the same time, so they left pit lane at the same time. And the Chevrolet drivers are all together fighting it out. Check this out recently. The Hitachi Chevy, did it touch the wall? Indeed it did, but only slightly. That's a brush.
No, that doesn't count. That's exactly what you want. That's just a kiss. He didn't tap it, he didn't hit it, he didn't even touch it. He kissed it, and that's perfect.
That was a little exhale.
Yeah, exactly right.
There's President of Team Penske, Tim Cindric, and his man, Joseph Newgarden. The communication between these two is fantastic. Championship-winning combo. Here's another Team Penske driver. That's Scott McLaughlin. And as the boys told you, the first one on the primary tires, and he is on it. He wants to vehemently defend his victory of a year ago.
Oh, yeah, this looks like a driver that recognizes this is the crossover point. Kyle Kirkwood, second-year driver in that Pink Auto Nation 27. Looks to be struggling a bit for pace now, and McLaughlin on the charge, along with Dixon and Will Power. Like Marty mentioned, all 3 of those veterans on the harder compound tire, and it should be coming their way.
You know how Grosjean had a good week flying in here to Albert Whitted Airport? So too did Scott McLaughlin. He's an avid golfer. He got to play in the Pro-Am at Arnie's place at Bay Hill earlier this week with 2007 Masters winner Zach Johnson, and he played well. Said Zach gave him a couple of little tune-up points, which helped. He said as soon as Johnson did it, he striped one about 270 off the tee. He had a great day.
Well, let's just ride with this Dex Imaging on board with Scott McLaughlin. This is one of my favorite views, the nose cam. I find it so seductive as the Firestone telemetry helps us out with speed, RPM, throttle and brake position, and gear position. Let's go for a little ride down the front straightaway. Should be on push to pass here, James.
This might be it, Townsend. It's so tricky. You can hear the lift off of the throttle. That's just trying to save fuel. So tough to dive on the inside of turn 1. The paint strips from the runway are way less grip than the pavement. as look how much Colton Herta has fallen back into the clutches of Pato O'Ward.
I think those early 10 laps under green when Colton was all over the back of Grosjean without a lot of downforce but with a lot of enthusiasm and aggression might have fried those alternates, because Grosjean, look at that, 7 seconds ahead of his teammate. Colton Herta's hanging on right now. He might get past.
And these two know each other so well from the road to Indy. Here he comes. Pato O'Ward at turn 10. Up the inside, grabs second place for the first time in this race, and now begins his quest at trying to catch Romain Grosjean, race leader. Nice move, decisive move, but I don't think Colton Herta had any choice in that. And now the Indy 500 champ, Marcus Ericsson's lining up for a shot.
Back at the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Pete, and the first contender has come in. Colton Herta said the tires have been dropping. He's been falling back, so he gets off the alternate Firestones. He's on the primaries, back out. We'll see other leaders coming in shortly.
That was agonizing for Colton Herta because he just got swamped and went from second to about sixth. His teammate Kyle Kirkwood has dropped. There you go. You can see Joseph Newgarden going by Kirkwood. Kirkwood all sideways in turn 10 in that bright pink AutoNation car.
We got a little help from Rinus VeeKay at corner exit. Kirkwood has gone from the top 5 to 14th in the span of 2 laps. Folks, you are seeing that tire degradation before your eyes as Kirkwood desperately trying to get right and get to pit lane.
It was hard to do with Rinus VeeKay on the inside of him there. Had to let him go so he could dive in. Not what Andretti Autosport wanted to see. Not able to take care of these alternate tires. Kevin Lee.
What a difference a year makes for Kyle Kirkwood. It was a struggle as a rookie last season. He's been quick all weekend in the Firestone Fast 6, but he couldn't make the alternates last quite long enough. This is still in the window. It's a little earlier than you would like. So primary Firestones, shell fuel, Kyle Kirkwood is back out.
And so too Christian Lundgaard in that Hy-V Honda for Rahal Letterman-Lanigan. He gets serviced and sent as well. That's Scott McLaughlin on Alex Palou.
Here
comes the defending race winner.
Here comes Scotty Mack. This is what he's been waiting for. This is what we've been waiting to see. That harder compound tire flexing its authority over the next 2 or 3 laps. It is high time for McLaughlin to make quick times and take advantage of this tire situation.
And Alex Palou's now under attack from his teammate Scott Dixon in that blue and orange PNC Bank machine on board now with the Verizon on board of Will Power. He's also on those primaries. He's going to now attack the American Legion Honda of Alex Palou.
Lap 30, I think you got to bring Palou in right now. The moment you're in range to make it on one more stop if you pit now. So I think you've got to bring your driver in if he's struggling. Meanwhile, Grosjean, no trouble at all. Here's 6-second lead.
Here's the challenge. If you bring him in now, lap 30, you're looking at about a 15% fuel save over the rest of the race. That's not a small number to achieve. If you can get it to lap 32, lap 33, it's going to make your job so much easier down the road.
And for those of you who are new viewers to the NTT IndyCar Series, there are 2 types of tire that run. The primary compound, which is harder, and the green-walled Waiuli alternate tire are the softer compound. It's totally your choice. IndyCar doesn't dictate when you put them on. You can start the race and what you like. The only thing that's in the rule book is you must run each compound at least once in competition. Here comes Alex Palou. Marty's standing by. He's coming your way.
A nice race for Alex Palou and also his teammate Marcus Ericsson, who've run in the top 5 the entire race and conserve those alternate tires, but they want them off, much like Colton Herta was talking about a moment ago. As Kevin mentioned, they're going to put the primary tires on here. Those who started on the primaries, we've been following Scott McLaughlin up through the field, who's now up to 3rd. They're going to try and run about 5 more laps if they can and make those primaries come to their advantage.
Great stop from the number 8 to jump Alex Palou there. That was a very smooth move. It was unfortunate for those 2 cars' teammates to come in together. You never want to have a car either right in front of you or right behind you in pit lane, and now these out laps are so crucial. You see Canapino on the back of Marcus Ericsson, Colton Herta here under pressure as well, and there is Alex Palou on his out lap.
So that's Ericsson in front of Colton Herta on the same pit sequence. Herta pitted about 3 laps earlier.
And Hinch mentioned the green and black car of Juncos Hollinger Racing, the Chevrolet of Agustin Canapino, the 33-year-old Argentine rookie, the multi-time touring car champion, has come to IndyCar, and he's doing a good job so far. Marty?
Lee, a terrific drive for Pato O'Ward, who honestly is not known for being able to save and conserve tires, but he did that with that first set of Firestones. A little bit of a longer stop here for the 5, but get those primary tires on. He was second when he came to pit road. Those primary tires, we're talking about diff with McLaughlin and those guys trying to now go 5 more laps.
And O'Ward, as Marty said, doing a great job. But remember, O'Ward didn't have dirty air in front of him. He had that gap with Colton Herta. Grosjean, clean air in front of him. So I think there's a big deal of having downforce on those tires to protect the green compound. At some point, all of them will be gone, and at the end, I think everybody will be on blacks for the finish. But everybody that started on blacks has to run that softer tire at some point. Here comes Grosjean.
Race leader is in the DHL Honda. What a stint from Romain Grosjean, Kevin Lee. He's led all 31 laps. What a way to start.
And what was the number Hinch said? Get to lap 32, job done. He went 3 or 4 laps longer than his teammate, but it really did start to drop. He lost 3 seconds on McLaughlin on that last lap. So he gets off the alternate Firestones. He's on the primaries, and the Phoenix flashes away.
Here you see the helicopter shot, Hinch. Grosjean on pit lane. O'Ward is on the front straightaway. This could be a little closer than expected. There's the orange and black of O'Ward. How close is it?
Pit lane speed limiter off for the yellow and red DHL Honda, nicely ahead, but he's on cold tires, Townsend. It's going to take at least a lap for those Firestones to come up to temperature. Pato O'Ward's going to be on the overtake. I was just going to say, on that push to pass, trying to close the gap.
And he hasn't had mirrors full of an opponent for a long time because he left his teammate Colton Herta behind long ago.
But to our point earlier, he's now going to be in the dirty air of Romain Grosjean. So if he doesn't manage to catch up and pass him immediately, he's got to be smart about managing that gap and not wearing these Firestone primaries out too early.
It's right on beard here with on board with O'Ward. How hard does he push? And let's go back to that Firestone telemetry. You see him make an engine adjustment on the wheel with the gray knob, but O'Ward was 5.5 seconds back, and after that round of pit stops, he is about 1.5 seconds. Grosjean's right there.
Situation here. There's 3 cars that started on primes that are out there still running very quickly. They will still have to go to reds.
And that's such a great point. We're talking about how good Scott McLaughlin, Scott Dixon, and Will Power are looking right now. But don't forget, you got no such thing as a free lunch. You got to pay the piper at some point. They have to run those alternate tires at some stage of this race, and they're going to have to suffer the same way that these cars did. So this is where that strategy comes into play. When do you want to swallow that pill of having to run the alternates? Action in the back here.
This is Christian Lundgaard and Stingray Robb. The black and red Hy-Vee Honda ducks up the inside of the rookie who was involved in that lap 1 crash, but good to see the Dale Coyne car back out there and running. Let's ride with Kyle Kirkwood. Have a listen. Turn 9. Here comes the back straight. The guy who used to drive this car is now in pit lane. Kevin?
And he had to drive right by that pit box. The 27 from Andretti is right in front of Aaron McLaren. Alexander Rossi, new team, brand new program. They added a car, and he said that's the biggest adjustment. Job done. They are on the primaries, now going to their stint on the alternates, and he's back out.
Comes right out on the gearbox of Colton Herta. Alex Palou in between. So that's a nice little jump up position-wise from relative track position for Alexander Rossi and the 7 crew.
It's huge. Rossi started 12th. Colton Herta started 2nd. They've both had their first pit stop, and Rossi has made up huge ground, at least on the Colton Herta scorecard.
Well, let's also remember, Colton Herta's lost quite a bit of ground as well. They're meeting in the middle.
This is true, but if you look at who they're also ahead of, Herta and Rossi, all these guys are pitting, including 2 Team Penske cars, Marty.
Scott McLaughlin winds up leading 3 laps in that sequence, Townsend. I think they thought they could go a little bit further, but they burned a lot of fuel because they had more clean racetrack than they anticipated. Ran about 5th during that run. Very happy with the car. The alternates going on, as Hinch said, the price being paid now. Will Power at the front of pit road. We'll see both of where these Penske cars cycle out. Look at that merge right there.
That's McLaughlin and Romain Grosjean. Grosjean's going to have to go for the move here on the Dex Imaging Chevrolet. He's up to speed as far as his tires. McLaughlin won't let him through.
Contact.
Oh, Grosjean into the marbles. O'Ward's going to be all over him.
Hot tires versus soft tires. McLaughlin on the alternates, Grosjean on the warm primaries, but now that he's been pushed offline, he will have picked up a bunch of dirt, a bunch of marbles. He's going to be hanging on for the next few corners. It's time for Pato O'Ward to attack.
Do you think that Scott McLaughlin wants to defend his win from a year ago? You betcha. You just saw it there most graphically.
No surprise, Scott Dixon went longest on fuel. He's known for being the best at fuel saving. He is in the pits, Marty, from the lead.
And Mike Hull, his strategist, said, anything you can give me on this last lap, and there's a caution on the racetrack. This will give Dixon a bit of an advantage, putting on those alternate tires, guys, and this might wind up being a caution on the racetrack. Also, Joseph Newgarden coming down pit road, and they nearly collide here on pit road on that exchange.
There's the caution. It's Connor Daly in the Bitnile Chevrolet, turn 9.
I think Dixon might be getting out ahead of McLaughlin here. Dixon's at the front of this thing, at least on the timing screen we have here in the booth, as Connor Daly has a stall there.
He did. He got out ahead of Scott McLaughlin.
Wow.
He's ahead of McLaughlin.
He's ahead on track. We need to double check the timing line, though, because the timeline is actually quite a bit further back, is where the pit lane speed limiter ends, the blend line. Yes, exactly right. So he's ahead on track. We'll have IndyCar make sure that that's where he cycled out. Connor Daly in the bitnile.com Chevy for Ed Carpenter Racing, unfortunately had it running, but stalled it while trying to turn it around. Based on where he was and the position he was, I was going to say I think he had help. And if I hear him say Kirkwood? Yeah, bad day going to worse for Kyle Kirkwood, and unfortunately Connor Daly the victim.
Do you know, it is very early in the morning in New Zealand when the NTT IndyCar races start. There's a very loyal and faithful contingent of IndyCar fans in New Zealand because of Scott Dixon, because of Scott McLaughlin, and now because of Marcus Armstrong. The first time ever there's been 3 Kiwis in NTT IndyCar Series competition. So for everybody a long way from where we are here in Florida, they're delighted to see 2 New Zealanders running first and second.
That was just a great first stint from Scott Dixon. No doubt a little bit of a lucky break, the yellow coming when it did, but this also helps Colton Herta a ton because he pit so early. He really needed these yellow flag laps.
You're absolutely right. It'll help his range to make it on one more stop a lot more easily. And it will also help McLaughlin, who now is on the softer compound, to have yellow laps to circulate slowly and not burn up that softer compound. They're still working on refiring Connor Daly. It sounds like he's good to go down and away. And unfortunately, there goes the pace car.
I want to give props to a couple of guys who we haven't seen a lot of, as there is the view of Connor Daly getting going. Callum Eilert, Renus VK. 2 guys who started further back than where they would like, and they have been cleverly working their way through the field with Juncos Hollinger Racing and Ed Carpenter Racing. There you see VK going through shot there. And Callum Eilert, look out for the black and green, the familiar Juncos Hollinger car. So those 2 Chevrolet drivers have been doing well, working their way forward. So too is Graham Rahal. Has had a very good day. He's up 10 positions. So there's a lot of guys. There we go. You see Marcus Armstrong there, who had that flat tire earlier. Armstrong is inside the top 15 in 14th, and they continue to dig deep and work their way forward. There goes McLaughlin by Dixon.
There you go. That will be the blend line.
And there's no judgment call here.
No.
It is just a digital binary situation where the transponder on the race car is tripping either the blend line on the track or the blend line in pit lane. In this case, McLaughlin beat Dixon.
There has been so much transpire here on the streets of St. Pete, and we're not even halfway through.
And so this is a great situation for Scott McLaughlin, obviously, because like we talked about, he'll be out front in clean air on those alternates. He'll be able to take care of them and stretch this stint out. This yellow situation helps the number 3 car, so everything's starting to fall into play for our defending race winner.
Last year here, that victory, the first career victory, kind of let the genie out of the bottle. There were 2 more wins on the season. He was a championship contender. And now this is the year where I think you're going to see Scott McLaughlin go to an even higher level because of that. There's no more black holes. There's no more mystery. He knows what's expected. And he's in the cadence of life, of living in North America now. There's no more surprises. He and wife Carly are in a great routine. They got a lot of familiarity, a lot of friends in the Charlotte, North Carolina area and around the country. Carly grew up in New York anyway, but they're at home here in North America now. So what helps at home helps at work. And he's in a really good spot professionally. And look out, the defending winner wants to be the winner again.
So here we go. Let's take a look at the NTT pit time differential. Scott McLaughlin versus Romain Grosjean. That in lap, 3.3 seconds to the good for Scott McLaughlin. We heard it mentioned from the pit lane. That was a huge 3-second gap there. And then the time on pit lane again to the Penske crew. 3 seconds to the good. That's because of a 3-second pit box advantage to Romain Grosjean, and outlap goes to Romain Grosjean. Total of a 3-second swing in favor of the Thirsty Threes and Scott McLaughlin. So a great look at the pit time differential powered by NTT. It is definitely hot in these race cars, guys. We ride on the game bridge on board Colin Herta, sticking his hand out just to get some clean air.
So you may have noticed that Scott Dixon not went from first to second or third. He's gone all the way back to fifth. Again, Townsend mentioned that is a digital fact of the blend back in before when the yellow came out, etc. So race control has put him back to fifth place. We'll go back to racing again, still in a strong position, and will have to take the fight to the likes of his teammate Marcus Ericsson and Pato O'Ward and get back up there and try and mix it up with race leader Scott McLaughlin.
Yeah,
It's one of those IndyCar anomalies for one of the most famous teams. There's been 19 races before today. Chip Ganassi Racing has only won once with the multi-time champion Dario Franchitti. The team can't answer why. It's just one of those ones that's got away from them more than often.
Yeah,
Maybe
they've
not
had the
today.
performance, they've had the speed, but James, take us through the blend line.
Okay, so this is why Scott McLaughlin is back in front. That line there, drawn essentially all the way across the racetrack, is where the timing line is for the blend. So when Scott Dixon was coming out here, Scott McLaughlin was already here, and even though Scott beat him out, Dixon beat out McLaughlin, where they were at the blend line is what matters. So that's why we see McLaughlin ahead of the number 9.
You're about to go, Scott was here and Scott was
Scott,
there.
exactly
Scott
right.
was here and Scott was there.
Too many Scotts, a couple of Marcuses. We need more nicknames. So we can actually show the replay. So here on your right, Scott Dixon in pit lane on the racetrack. On the left-hand side, you see McLaughlin down here, Grosjean, Pato O'Ward. All of those drivers were actually ahead of where Scott Dixon was at the blend line. So that's why he is actually now down behind Marcus Ericsson. He went from leading that train, but realistically was down in 5th at the blend line. If this had been a green flag stop, Scott Dixon would have emerged out front and held that spot, but because it was, you see Dixon right here, hasn't crossed that line yet, so all the cars up here essentially are ahead of him by the blend. So he kind of got hurt by the yellow there. Had it stayed green, he'd have been able to just blast out and race them on track, but because of the caution coming out while Dixon was in the pits, the field's frozen and the blend line comes into effect.
So lights are off on the Civic Type R Honda pace car, which is a good sign. We're ready to go back to racing. You know, last year's 100-lap race here only had 1 caution period. We've had 2 for 8 laps today, plus a stoppage after a crazy crash on the opening lap. Here's Kyle Kirkwood in the pink car for Auto Nation on the inside of Connor Daly, tagged the back of the Bitnile Chevy, and that's the cause and the catalyst for this most recent full course caution.
What do yellows breed?
Yellows.
More yellows. Great jump. Big wiggle from Scott McLaughlin on the power. Same for Pato O'Ward. He's already defending for Marcus Ericsson. Ericsson saying, no, I'm going to stay on the clean side of the racetrack.
All right, here you go. Defending winner wants to win again, but Romain Grosjean in that yellow and red DHL Honda wants to win for the first time. Alexander Rossi on his old teammate Colton Herta around the outside. You've got it. No, you don't. Herta fights back.
Oh, Colton Herta on the dirty side of the racetrack there, trying to go too wide. Further back, you see Rossi, and there's 2 cars side by side.
Big rear lock from Colton Herta. Oh, Rinus VK.
Oh,
we have a car up and over. Kyle Kirkwood's involved. That looks like Jack Harvey as well. Rinus VK in the tires. Huge accident. Yellow flag is out.
That's the second.
You're right.
Second car airborne.
Second fully airborne car. Kyle Kirkwood
car is not.
cleared a tabletop.
Tons of damage to the 27 Auto Nation Honda for Andretti Autosport. Not what they wanted to see. Both of the flying cars were Andretti Autosport cars, unfortunately, for that organization. Man, that was a big hit.
AMR safety team tending to Jack Harvey in that red and white number 30.
We saw Alexander Rossi go side by side with Colton Herta through 2 and 3. That checked him up coming on to that back straightaway, so a bit of a accordion effect behind him, and I think that's kind of what started it.
And here's, I think, another big issue is you just look at the size of the marbles on the racetrack right now. You get a little bit offline, and I mean, those are legit marble size. Sometimes we use the term marble and it's a fine dust. These are round, hard balls of rubber.
Jack Harvey, you can see moving in the cockpit of the custom entertainment Honda for Rahal Letterman Lanigan, talking to the AMR safety team and taking his time to get out of that car. Rinus VeeKay is being helped also by the AMR safety team to get going again. Kyle Kirkwood in the AutoNation Honda will not be going any further. That was a massive moment as he got airborne in this car. That's why the front end looks the way it does.
See the bent suspension on the driver's left, right-hand side of the car on your screen.
I mean, to clear an IndyCar, you're at least 4 feet. Kirkwood was in the air. I know Chase Sexton's here right now, but that's not what he was expecting to see at St. Pete.
Just look at the damage to that car. Tremendous amount of damage to the left front. AMR safety team getting Jack Harvey out of the car. Kyle Kirkwood staying in at the moment, maybe wanting to try to fire that thing back up and get back to pit lane. But
look at this.
He's got floor
right
damage.
Here.
Yeah, he's got all sorts of damage to that race car. But Jack Harvey getting out, great to see.
So, guys, when Kyle Kirkwood first came to a stop, he said, "I'm okay, car is not." Just heard radio communication, though, that said, you've got a, I think they said, front left toe link. We can replace that, and we're going to try to get you back out without losing a lot of time. He's not going to be a race contender, but they still have hopes that, you know, at this point, with this much attrition, hey, a top 12 or 15 is very much in play if you can finish the race.
And you can see Jack Harvey there just taking his time as he gathers himself after this. Now check out, look further back down the track.
It's Rossi and Graham Rahal.
So you see Rinus VeeKay, he's got Joseph Newgarden on the inside of him. Joseph Newgarden pulls the move off. Rinus just gets into the dirty part of the racetrack. Jack Harvey absolutely nowhere to go. David Malukas collects a bit of contact as Kyle Kirkwood just pole vaults.
You see how it slammed down?
Yeah, I mean, that's
My
the thing,
goodness.
Diff. Coming down from this altitude, IndyCars have suspension, but it's not any good coming down from, I mean, that rear end is 7-8 feet in the air, and it's going to come down like a jackhammer. Listen to this.
Oh, you feel it in your back. I mean,
I felt it.
No suspension. You know, the floor just hits the concrete. That shockwave just goes straight up your back, the same way we talked about Devlin DeFrancesco, and look at Michael Andretti's face.
That reminded me from years ago in F1 when Mark Webber went over the back of Heikki Kovalainen.
Yeah.
That was at a lot higher speed, but the front of the car just hit center of that rear wheel and launched.
And with Rinus VeeKay going into the tires, it's like a pogo stick. Those tires act as a spring. It absorbs load, but then it recoils and pushes you back out into the field. As Kirkwood, how in the world is this car running?
He says, I can't turn left. Well, I'm not surprised. Kevin Lee has more. Kev?
They're trying to. They said, we're going to just come into the pit lane. We're going to change tires to stay on the lead lap. We'll have a good quick look at everything, and then we're going to send you back out, and then the next time around, assess the damage.
Hey, Diff, last time we saw a car get that high on a street circuit, it was Marcus Ericsson in Nashville.
Yeah, true.
And they fixed it.
And he won.
And he won the race.
That was front end, not rear end, but still as spectacular. What a wild day here in St. Petersburg, Florida. Two cars way up in the air. First of all, it was Devlin DeFrancesco. This time, Kyle Kirkwood going for a wild ride in his home state. Doing a lot of good, that's for sure. We say thanks to people ready for the Force for Good Challenge for the second year in a row now, being awarded to the driver, the team, and a charity of the driver's choice for winning on each of the 3 types of track that we have in the NTT IndyCar Series this year. 5 ovals, 7 road courses, 5 street courses. You've got to win on each of those different types. And Joseph Newgarden made very quick work of it last year, winning on 3 different types of circuits, part of his 5 race victories last year. Welcome back, Lee Diffie, James Hinchcliffe, Townsend Bell, Marty Snyder, Kevin Lee, and Dave Burns on a very eventful day here at the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. second massive incident, and we are not even halfway through this 100-lap event.
Kind of a critical moment right here. I know it seems pretty basic, like come to a stop for the tow truck, but if you stall right here, your good race can go to a bad race in a hurry, especially on hot tires with a hot clutch and all that. So drivers having to very carefully navigate the safety vehicles and also make sure they keep their Honda and Chevy engines running.
Hot is the name of the game. And let's take a look just real quick. We saw a shot earlier of Jack Harvey, who's luckily out of the car, sitting at the back of the ambulance being tended to. You can just see the exhaustion. There's so much heat in these race cars. And it's so humid. We're not even halfway through this race. 12 of the laps run so far have been under caution. It's not even like we've been green the whole time, but just look at how drained Jack Harvey is. You can see the sweat dripping off his head, and we're not even halfway done this race. These drivers are getting absolutely tested to the limit in terms of the physicality and what a human body can take when it comes to heat. It is just so physically demanding from the bumps, the G-forces, and then you throw in that heat and humidity factor. This is a marathon for these drivers.
In addition to slamming into the back of Rinus VeeKay and having Kyle Kirkwood go all the way over top of him as well. An incredibly confronting situation for Jack Harvey. Let's join Kevin Lee. What you got, Kevo?
Well, one of the early contenders, Colton Herta, had to pit earlier than they wanted, and this yellow, let's listen to radio, helps them immensely.
The pits are open, but we will stay out. Copy, stay out. Copy. Yeah, just keep saving us fuel right now. This is helping us out because we were in a pretty big hole.
And Townsend and Hinch alluded to that as well, that they needed to get some help to be able to get back even with those like Romain Grosjean and Scott McLaughlin, who went longer. Marty.
Yeah, Kevin, sitting on the alternate tires, leader Scott McLaughlin trying to win a second straight at St. Pete. This caution and these cautions are a huge advantage. Why? Listen.
How's this all feel? Yeah, you're doing fine. Once we get closer, we can use some to get some of the stuff off the tires, of course. Again, we'll probably shorten this one and then get you on the black.
So hence that point that Kyle Moyer made at the very end right there. They're going to shorten this stint. Remember, we've talked about the alternate tires, how much they fall off. They'll only have to run about 20 laps. That's the window where it falls off big time. So you can expect the 3-car on pit road about lap 65, and they'll put primaries on till the end.
Yeah, just a huge advantage for this team to be able to do so many laps of their alternate tire stint under caution. We saw it was about lap 20 that Colton Herta really started falling off a cliff. Romain Grosjean was about lap 30-31. They're not going to have to do anywhere near that, and it's going to be great for them.
And also great for McLaughlin. Grosjean on the blacks, which on a restart's a disadvantage. It's going to be an advantage for McLaughlin to get a jump through the first acceleration point and then into turns 1 and 2, get himself a little bit of breathing room, because in his rearview mirrors, you know, McLaughlin's looking back and saying, man, this has just been one, you know, absolute disaster after another behind me in terms of crash damage. So he wants to do everything he can to open a gap up.
Hey guys, while we're still behind the Honda Civic Type R pace car, I want to give a shout out to IndyCar and its continued drive to enhance its sustainability. You see there the green-walled Firestone Firehawk tires made from the Waiuli plant that is grown in Arizona. Firestone owns the majority of their farms where they grow that. It helps with the sustainability. They hope by 2050, you know, that Firestone and Bridgestone have 100% recyclable, renewable tires and from an organic base. I mean, it's quite the story. There's the Waiuli tires. They're going to be run on the street circuits, and it's the sidewall of the tire. The cross-section and the base of the tire itself is like the red alternates that we always see and we talk about. And Shell has come on board this year with a 100% renewable fuel made from sugarcane waste. It's a second generation of fuel. And there's a bigger story that we can tell when we have a little bit more time there. But IndyCar, well done, doing more to help the sustainability side of the sport as we get ready for the fun part of the sport. We're ready to go back racing at the end of the third full course caution as we broach halfway of this 100-lap race. Scott McLaughlin in a Dex Imaging Chevy leads the way over Romain Grosjean.
Green flag.
There's the green. Let's go. Turn 1 is a key spot at this track. Dixon has already popped out, trying to get ahead of his teammate.
But it's so dirty offline. Dixon was wiggling in a straight line. He thinks better of it there. Single file for now. Great jump from Scott McLaughlin. It was more Romain Grosjean under pressure from Pato O'Ward.
Looking back, Scott Dixon in that orange and blue PNC car has a run on his teammate, Ericsson, in the red and white, but Ericsson tries to defend. Dixon having none of that.
And Will Power is looking on. Graham Rahal in the United Rentals car. Great escape.
That was closer than you definitely want. As we ride on board with the United Rentals on board of Graham Rahal. Man, that was nearly out. Colton Herta did exactly what we saw Rinus VK do down. Oh no, that's past turn 4. That's turn 8.
He said somebody.
I'll bet he got pushed wide and picked up all of that spent rubber. And James, the marbles are just massive. I mean, it's really hard to shake those loose in the next corner. Look at Dixon. Dixon's still racing. The caution's not out yet. There it is.
Caution is out. Colton Herta's going to try to reverse. He's reversed a little bit, but he's got some banner stuck on the car. Look at the damage to that left front. That's a very significant amount of damage. Turn 8, that's not a passing zone. I'm not sure who was trying to pass what there.
But if you start too wide in turn 4, you can end up in turn 8 too wide, but it never works out. All right, Dixon.
Scott Dixon in the orange and blue PNC bank car on the left-hand side of your screen. Goes past Marcus Ericsson, his teammate. But further back is Colton Herta. Who gets into him? Nobody gets into him there. That's turn 4. This is Rahal's moment. Rahal misses the tire bundle.
So side by side in front of Colton Herta coming out of here. Let's see another quick look at Graham Rahal. Nearly into the back of Alexander Rossi. Tries to go around the outside, but it's so dirty. Look at that. And now here we go, side by side with Will Power. You're right, going through turn 5, they started side by side and made it all the way there.
He didn't start out that way. This is Colton's onboard. Watch how late he decides to try to go around Will Power.
So Will Power, the car on your right in front, gets pushed wide by Marcus Ericsson. He's offline now. Colton Herta trying to take advantage.
Contact. Power left front into Colton's right rear as Colton was forcing the issue on the outside.
That's a tough one.
This is the 3rd Andretti car out of the race. And Michael Andretti furious at this point. And think about how dominant they were. Started 1-2.
Couldn't have looked any better on Saturday. And wow, just really coming all unraveled now.
Just to come back one moment, we thought that a 3rd Andretti car was going to be out. But miraculously, Kyle Kirkwood has re-entered this race. Incredible after going up in the air, looked like a Supercross bike, came down, went back to the pit box for Andretti Autosport. They took a look at the car. They said, you're good to go. You can take the Auto Nation 27 back out.
He is 3 laps down, but it's still valuable track time for Kyle Kirkwood in this situation. Still getting to work with his new team and get a little bit more experience under his belt.
And a little bit of a sore point for Michael Andretti back to 2020 in this race. We see Alexander Rossi. Excuse me. Was that you?
Marco Andretti going around.
Marco Andretti going. I got to remember all these paint schemes, James. Take me through it.
I'd rather not take you through this one. That's me going around in the 26 car. Running up front, Colton Herta. He's going to have a bit of a day himself. It was a bad day at St. Pete for the squad. After, again, so much promise. The cars have always shown a lot of pace here. But it just shows you how unpredictable these races can be.
Why don't we talk about 2013 when you did win here for Andretti Autosport?
Where's that replay?
It was a good car then too. They were good then. But guys, this is the Gamebridge Honda on the hook. You see it swaying. Colton Herta will be out of the car and go no further in this event. I want to see another shot of that though. I mean, it's really tough. Will was pushed off.
Yeah,
in turn 6. Yeah, but I'm trying to think of who was more responsible. There is an investigation right now between the 12 and the 26 for avoidable contact.
I'm not going to put the blame on either one.
I think it's a racing incident.
Yeah,
it's a tough deal.
Will Power had to check up. That opened an opportunity for Colton. He went for it as Power was trying to recover. They touched. That kicked Colton wide. And at that point, he's on the marbles and just a passenger.
So while we have a little pause here under this 4th full course caution, I want to remind you that you have a wonderful chance to drive away with a new Corvette, courtesy of Hy-Vee. All season long, you can enter for a chance to win one of 4 Corvettes by simply grabbing your mobile device and scanning the QR code on your screen right now to enter. Go do it. Good luck. All right, guys, how about this scenario? Throughout his 179 Formula One Grand Prix, Romain Grosjean was known as a bit of a wild man. He was not known for his patience. Is he going to employ patience today, given the forceful nature of Scott McLaughlin coming through to grab that lead, or are we in for some more fireworks here in the latter half of this one?
Here's the question. Is Grosjean saying to himself, P2 right now, got a good race car, let's get out of here with a smart finish? Or is Grosjean saying, this is my best chance to win my first IndyCar race?
I think the latter.
And I got to make it happen now.
I think the latter.
That's it. Are you thinking championship already on race 1, or are you thinking going for the win?
I think the latter. I think he's sick of finishing second. Marty, what you got?
Boy, Diff, the breaks just keep coming Scott McLaughlin's way, trying to win a second straight at St. Pete. Kyle Moyer calling the strategy for him. I mean, these cautions certainly are helping you guys out. It makes your alternate tire run much shorter every time.
Yeah, we'll take that right now. I'm not a fan. I like racing, but right now I'll take as many yellows right now. It extends our window. You know, the Dex car's been, I think, really good. We missed a little bit in qualifying there. I think we could have made a run for it, but you know, Scotty's doing what he did last year at the end of the season in this car, and you know, he's just driving it great and everything. The guys did a great pit stop. I got one more here to do, and hopefully we can come out.
How impressive was his outlap to get around Grosjean?
Well, it got him the lead, so it was pretty impressive, yeah.
Kyle said on the radio, Diff, A+ on that outlap. I would say so, and they didn't do a bad job on pit road either. Scott McLaughlin out front.
Marty, while it's good news for the Thirsty Threes, it is bad news for the defending champions in the Verizon Chevy, the 12 of Will Power. He's going to be going to the back of the pack hinge for this.
I mean, where's Will Power supposed to go? He's got a concrete wall on his right. I mean, how do you avoid that?
It's tough. So here's the only argument I can see is that because he was pushed wide in turn 5, his tires are junk. He knows that. He tries to force the issue. I mean, Colton Herta's ahead going into 8, but I mean,
yeah, but the track's 50 feet wide. I get it. Colton doesn't want to stay wide because he's on the marbles, but that's not Will Power's fault.
I kind of agree with you. I kind of see it as a racing deal. Here's Marcus Ericsson inside there. So right now, Colton Herta is basically ahead, and I mean, gives him room. Yeah, you know what? Will did he pushed pretty wide. And
I think it was the second contact,
I agree
not the
with
first.
you. It's how wide he went, because Colton did give him the room at the apex. So I guess one driver's race ended, one driver's continued. That's usually when IndyCar will step in and make a change.
All right, draw a breath, get ready, hold on tight. We're about to do it again and launch into the second half of this Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. Let's go. McLaughlin at the front. The yellow and red DHL Honda is Romain Grosjean. Here comes Pato O'Ward on the inside. Not quite close enough. Dixon's close to O'Ward. Here comes Alex Palou on the inside. All slipping and sliding, but gathers control.
Palou, I thought, was going to get into the back of Alexander Rossi, who's having a good run and good debut run for Aaron McLaren. And here comes Newgarden on the charge.
Newgarden on the charge, indeed, on Callum Ilott down into turn 4. Push to pass is not active on the first lap after a restart. We also see, I believe that's the high V car of Christian Lundgaard making a move on the black and white HMD car of David Malukas. A lot of action right now on this opening lap.
This is getting spicy here between the two orange cars. That of Pato O'Ward, then Scott Dixon. There they are right there, flashing through on the backstretch up to turn 10.
And Romain Grosjean will very much want to get to the gearbox of Scott McLaughlin and start pressuring him. Try to force him to use that softer tire up. I think it's going to be tough.
That's exactly right, Townsend. That's what he's got to do right now. But we looked at the pace that Grosjean had when the situation was reversed. I expect Scott McLaughlin to sort of pull up, open up a gap, and then focus on taking care of those tires, which, again, he does not have to take that much further. He only really needs another, what, 10, 15 laps?
Watch the number 9 of Scott Dixon, the orange and blue PNC car, as they come out of turn 3. Dixon, the next car back on the alternate tire. They should be pretty fresh and grippy, so look for Dixon to try to make something happen on Pato O'Ward over the next couple laps.
T-Bell, you called the action before of Joseph Newgarden going by fellow Chevrolet driver Callum Ilott, but that's from Hunko's Hollinger Racing. They're in the top 10. Great drive. There he is there in the green and black car. Great drive from the young British man. And now the 2-car Hunko's Hollinger organization. One car that was taken out of the recent caution was that man there who's had a frustrating weekend when showing great speed. Dave Burns has more.
That is Rinus VeeKay. He's walked away under his own power, so I'm assuming you're okay. How did you try to miss all that?
Yeah, it's tricky out there. Good thing I'm okay, and I hope Jack will be okay, because he looked like he was a bit in pain. But yeah, bummer. It's very tricky out there, and you know, Joseph was A little bit on the inside, and I'm an inch out there, like an inch on maybe 2 marbles, and you're out of grip. There's nothing. So very tough. Really bummed because you know, you really want to finish the first race of the season. Every race you want to finish, but this one is important to carry momentum. So bummed for the guys, but we had pace. We were doing very well. So yeah, bring that to the next one.
Lee.
Dave, the attrition rate continues to escalate. Out of this race, Colton Herter, Jack Harvey, Rinus VeeKay, who we heard from, Elio Castro-Neves, Santino Ferrucci, Devlin DiFrancesco, Simon Pagenaud, and Benjamin Peterson. It's been a brutal first day back at school.
We started with the largest grid we've ever had here at St. Pete. I think we're on track to end with one of the fewest number of cars running.
I think we're on track for the 28 DHL car, Romain Grosjean, to start putting some moves potentially on Scott McLaughlin.
Keep pushing him.
There you hear, push to pass is available for everybody, but a lot of these drivers haven't used much. Grosjean has 129 seconds left of 150. McLaughlin 113 seconds left. James, I know it's the first race of the season, but the drivers have been stingy. They've been frugal with push to pass. They've got it all in the bank to use.
Well, don't forget, they've had almost 20 laps of caution as well. You can't use it under caution. You can't use it on the first lap after a restart, and we've had 4 of those. So there you go. There's 24 of your laps already.
When these two guys came into the NTT IndyCar Series as rookies 2 years ago, there was a little bit of a love fest, a little bit of a mutual admiration society. Grosjean saying the most impressive rookie he saw out of himself, Jimmy Johnson, and Scott McLaughlin was Scott McLaughlin. I think the love fest is over because there's a win, an IndyCar win on the line here.
But this is a surprise, Marty. I wonder if you're hearing anything on the radio, because I thought McLaughlin would open up a real big gap here on this restart with plenty of fuel and softer tires without many laps.
A little bit surprised about that as well. Again, he's on the alternates, Grosjean right behind on the primary tires. You mentioned it at the start of the race, Townsend, the heat cycles that are on these alternate tires, it wears them out quicker. The good news for the 3 team at Team Penske, they only have to run about 8 more laps, and then they can come to pit road for the last time today, and they'll be good for the rest of the race. So I think that's what they're banking on. But yeah, I thought he would get a big gap on this restart, and he hasn't.
Either way, James, if it stays green, the in lap, the pit stop, the out lap is going to be so critical between these two cars. Almost certainly both will finish on the harder black compound tire, having already satisfied the soft tire requirement.
Yeah, exactly right. This is now basically a straight-up fight. If Scott can keep Romain behind him for the rest of these few laps that he still needs to run, it's just a straight-up pit stop war. It's a pit cycle that we're going to see Team Penske versus Andretti Autosport. Scott McLaughlin versus Romain Grosjean on those in laps, on those out laps. This is going to be a fun little battle as we see Romain Grosjean a little bit on the button there on push to pass. He knows he's got a lot to burn with coming up on 40 laps to go.
And McLaughlin is on defense now, Diff. He's on the button as well as he came to the front straightaway on that long runway. So cat and mouse going on here with push to pass.
All we have to do is go back to this race a year ago to know how well McLaughlin can sustain pressure. He was getting that pressure from the then champion Alex Palou. All right, that went all the way to the checkered flag. They got as close as they are now. 0.4 of a second was exactly how close Palou got to McLaughlin. But the big but was that was later in the race. There's still a long way to go for McLaughlin to handle this pressure.
And that was as Scott McLaughlin came upon lap traffic.
Yeah.
He was dealing with that. Right now, he's got clean air. He's got the best seat in the house on the racetrack, but Grosjean is not letting him out of his sights. This shows, again, the strength of this Andretti Autosport setup right now.
Lap 60, lap 65 is your window to get home on the last stop. So McLaughlin got to hang on here for about 5 more, but it could be 5 very long laps.
Good exit off the last corner and off at 9. Those are the 2 secrets here.
Guy who started on the front row with Romain Grosjean, Colton Herter, is with Dave.
Pretty tight out there. Colton, how did you see the incident?
I'd like to see a replay of it. I still am not sure what happened. I thought I was pretty far ahead of him, and I felt a tag in left room, but felt a tag in the left rear, and oh yeah, he wanted to use the next state over for track room on the exit there. So yeah, I don't know what I can do there except for, I don't know, hit the wall. So it sucks. We were fast. We were on the black tires. A lot of guys in front of us were on the red, so we we're gonna be able to make some passes there once our tires were going off, and it felt good. So yeah, it's unfortunate. See, he hits me there, gets me all wind up, and then yep, one mess.
It is a shame, Lee. They were fast.
Yeah, the more I look at it, the more I agree with that call.
Yeah, we were nodding at each other, James.
Yeah.
It's definitely worthy of the penalty, I think.
Because if you're Will Power, you know that your car is not in top shape. Your tires are now dirty. Making a lunge is not good, but a lunge might be what's coming here for the lead.
Here we go. This man who has driven brilliantly today is not known for his patience. But today, maybe it's a new Romain Grosjean that we are seeing in this DHL Honda.
You know, one thing I noticed with Grosjean there braking for turn 4, James, is he tends to rush the downshifts a little bit. I wonder if that helps rear locking by using the gearbox to kind of spin things up as opposed to relying on the pedal. Just that final downshift, he tends to rush it a bit, I think, to his benefit.
Honda versus Chevrolet. Andretti Autosport up against Team Penske here on the streets of St. Petersburg. What do you make of this, Marty?
It's terrific, Diff, and Kyle Moyer telling Scott McLaughlin, stay patient. Grosjean is only trying to make you use up your tires as he closes in there in the last corner, and he reminded his driver a moment ago, remember what you did on the last set of stops. A terrific in-lap. The pit crew was outstanding as well. They gained 3 seconds on that last stop, but Kevin, it's going to be tight here, Diff, coming to that stop.
Oh, boy. This is awesome.
Listen here. That's what I'm talking about on the downshift. Just that last one, maybe not. Maybe I'm making too much of a deal of it, but it just seems like that might help some of the rear lock. I've done that in a lot of race cars.
For sure.
Rush the downshift, use the gearbox drag and the engine drag to help, almost like a mechanical ABS for the rear axle.
Engine braking is always helpful, especially in these Indy cars when you're unloading the rear from a weight standpoint, hitting the brakes, transferring that weight forward really makes the rear of the car light, and that can help slow it down for sure. But yeah, you talk about that pit cycle, Marty, when the Thirsty Threes were 3 seconds faster between the in-lap, the out-lap. But remember, Scott McLaughlin had the better tire for that sequence. Now the advantage is swapped to Romain Grosjean. He's going to have the preferred tire for that in-lap. Right now you can see the pace advantage that the 28 has over Scott McLaughlin.
Think about when Scott McLaughlin, the driver of this Dex Imaging Chevy, came here in the fall of 2020, the pandemic year. He came from the Bathurst 1000 in the same week, moved his entire life to North America with his wife Carly. He got tangled up in a first corner incident. He didn't know what he didn't know. He got out of the car because he didn't realize you were allowed to ask to get the car fired up again, and he could have finished the race. He comes back in 2022 to win the season opener and win 3 races on that season, and here he is at the head of the field again.
And now he's got to make a decision. Do I pit to cover a yellow coming out, or do I stay out? Because if you pit on the earlier side, you allow Grosjean with what appears to be a rocket-fast race car, clean laps to make up ground. However, if you hold on and block Grosjean, you're putting yourself at risk that if a yellow comes and somebody behind you ducks to pit lane, you're all of a sudden in the danger zone.
Kevin Lee.
So when I chatted with Romain Grosjean today, and we talk about what you don't totally want to bring up, that it's been a dozen years since you've won a race, I didn't even have to mention it. He threw out the year 2011. He's quite aware of it before he got to Formula One. So I think it's safe to say that he's going to be going for it. As far as chatter, he's normally pretty talkative on the radio, so that tells me things are going well because he said nothing for a long time. They're in a good position, but it may come all down to this last pit stop coming up very, very shortly.
Just watching Grosjean's right hand here, and it seems like he's making a bar adjustment every lap, James, softening the front bar for the slower sections for turn 4 through 9, and then stiffening things up. Let's see if he stiffens it up here. No, he's going to keep it.
Yeah, you'd want that soft front bar through these last 2 corners, 13 and 14. That's the front anti-roll bar, controls the stiffness across the front axle. You can adjust that from inside the car. You can do the same on the rear anti-roll bar from inside the car. A couple different adjustments the drivers have for if you're running in clean air, dirty air, old tires, new tires.
Now the question is who's going to flinch first? It's Alex Palou. He's going to put the cars in front now in the danger zone here, and on a street course where we've seen tons of chaos. If you're Scott McLaughlin and the Thirsty Threes, you got to think about coming in now, Marty.
Yeah, nice move by this team to come in right now. bringing them down pit road. The team they finished second here last year, Alex Palou, felt like the car has been pretty quick. They're going to go to the primary tires here. He's been happy with it, but stuck in traffic. But Townsend, you are right. 35 to go. They can go as hard as they want to in the 10 car. That's got to make the 3 car. Scott McLaughlin and Team Penske think about coming to pit road sooner rather than later.
Palou is fired up. He told me the other day, I want another championship, and I want it to be this year. He said, I want you to say hello Palou again on the TV. So I want to win again.
If McLaughlin pits here, what does Grosjean do? Does he cover or does he stay out? We're about to find out.
You got to stay out, try to get a couple clear laps. It's a bit of a risk because, again, the yellow completely hoses. Dixon now dives into the pits. This is Ganassi potentially making a race-winning strategy call here by blinking first, and it's definitely going to force other drivers to make this call sooner than they wanted to, Marty.
Yeah, Hinch, you got to love this call by Team Ganassi, right? Chip Ganassi Racing. They're making a move to say, hey, if we do what everybody else does, we're not going to win the race. Scott Dixon sitting in fourth has been very happy with the car. Going to put the primaries on, get those alternates off, and Dixon will head back out. But yeah, I see a lot more activity in the leader's pit down here.
So where does Dixon blend out with his teammate Alex Palou? We'll be watching for that as well. The 9 and 10 running pretty close together as the battle up front continues. There's Palou.
Dixon's already by. He's comfortably ahead, already down the back straight. There he is, battling now with Callum Ilott, I believe.
You got to bring Scotty Mack, I think, at this point. It's too risky. He stays out.
He's just doing so well. He's keeping them back there.
If somebody wrecks right now, somebody stalls in a runoff, and a yellow
cars
comes,
are at the front.
You're going to see Scott Dixon win his first race at St. Pete.
Yeah, say what? That's crazy.
Another leader, Alexander Rossi, in the McLaren is in, Kevin.
And these yellows worked out perfectly for Rossi. That was his alternate stint, and he was able to make up ground. He's running in the top 5. He's got primaries the rest of the way to go. He doesn't have any concerns on fuel. It's a transition. He said, I've actually acclimated the team pretty well, but it's the fact adding a new program is the biggest challenge. So far, so good. He's happy with the way he's fitting in with Aaron McLaren.
7 years with Andretti Autosport and an Indianapolis 500 win. And he's now an Arrow McLaren driver in the blue and papaya of McLaren Racing. Here we go. How's the latter half of this race going to pan out for Alexander Rossi as he has his sights on Alex Palou up ahead? Meanwhile, first and second, top box. Who flinches first out of these two guys?
I'm shocked right now, Marty. They're not coming to pit lane. This just seems like an incredible gamble.
I agree, Townsend, but they told him we're in Bravo 3, which means run as hard as you want right now. So I think their thought is as long as he's in front of the 28 car, that's where they want to be, and they're fine being in that position. But I would be worried about a caution just like you. It comes out now, their race is done, and the Ganassi guys are in a terrific spot.
I think what they're worried about, Marty, is if Scott McLaughlin pits first, Grosjean stays out on hot tires, you could do the overcut, essentially. You stay out, lay down a couple fast lap times as the other car's getting up to speed on colder tires, and he might leapfrog him in that sequence. So if they can keep him behind, like you said, you almost want Grosjean to pit first. And at this point, if Grosjean is being held up, he might have to consider it. A couple different strategy calls to be made in these very critical moments of this race. It's going to be fascinating to see how it plays out, guys.
Well, keep your eyes on the left-hand side of your screen on the leaderboard. Scott Dixon is 31.8 seconds in arrears, and it's about 27, 28 for the pit lane delta on a stop. So if Dixon starts eating into what those leaders have and that margin goes below 30 seconds, it is game on. Now Joseph Newgarden is in and Pato O'Ward. Marty's standing by. They're coming your way.
It's been a terrific race for Pato O'Ward, running in the top 3 all day long. He told me earlier this weekend, Diff, we want to show we can compete with Ganassi and Team Penske, not once in a while, on a weekly basis. They have shown that today for sure. Joseph Newgarden also coming in. He said these primaries will certainly help. 31 to go, and no movement from his Team Penske teammate, Scott McLaughlin, so far, who's still out front.
This is a great drive from Scott McLaughlin, doing exactly what he has to do. He's about to come up on a lap car, Canapino.
And this now adds the further risk.
Here we go, guys.
That McLaughlin's going to get slowed up potentially by Canapino, allowing Scott Dixon to close. What does McLaughlin do? He stays out. Here comes Grosjean.
Force the 28 crew to blink first. This is fascinating.
Kevin Lee standing by, Kevo.
Last year, Romain Grosjean said there were just too many mistakes within the team. They've really worked on the details, and he really thought a second year in the program with his engineer, Olivier Bosson, would help. Primaries to primaries, another set of Firestones. Romain Grosjean has been second 3 times in IndyCar. Desperately wants that win. He's back out after his last stop of the day.
There's Dixon on the right-hand side of your screen. And O'Ward coming down the front straight. Watch this.
I think Grosjean's going to clear him. They're just getting into turn 1. Grosjean's got a clean shot out now, but again, Pato O'Ward, warm tires. Romain Grosjean's going to have to get in with. That's Marcus Ericsson, I think, leaving the pit lane as well.
Yeah, but you got Stingray Robb in a wounded race car a lap down in front of Grosjean. Here comes O'Ward, and McLaughlin is in traffic, and watch the gap of McLaughlin to O'Ward. It's at 28 seconds. Boy, you better get to pit lane, Scotty Mack, if you want to win this thing.
That was a killer for Scott McLaughlin, being stuck behind that car for the entire lap, but now he is in. It is all about that outlap from Romain Grosjean. The pressure's on the thirsty threes.
Grosjean is over into turn 10. We'll monitor this. Pressure's on, Marty Snyder.
Kyle Moyer told him everything you've got on this lap, ever take everything. Just go as quick as you can. But that traffic hinge could be a huge factor for Scott McLaughlin. The delta on pit road, the time you lose on pit road is 27 seconds. You mentioned that 28-second gap. It's going to be a battle not only between him and Grosjean, but also O'Ward. Let's watch the blend.
There's Grosjean. Turn 1. Look at the yellow car. There's McLaughlin on the right. They're at speed. They may come together. Whoa! McLaughlin holds the lead.
But there's no way I think he'll be able to hold them off on cold tires. Grosjean goes to the outside on hot tires and on the preferred line.
Is it possible? No, it's not.
Contact.
It ends in both of them crashing.
And O'Ward goes through. Pato O'Ward to the front.
Can you believe what you've just seen here in St. Pete? The top 2 in this race are into the tire barrier, neither willing to relinquish that top spot. Oh my goodness.
That is 2 drivers just wanting to win a motor race. That is what happens. Passion gets involved. Look at the disappointment. Both of them having such a strong day. Devastating result.
Think about what Michael Andretti's going through right now. That is now the 4th Andretti Autosport car out of 4 that is out of the running.
I can't believe Michael Andretti's still on the stand. If I was him, I'd be packed up and halfway home. This has just been such a disappointing day, and I don't know. Oh, man. A lot of it, not their fault. Not really mistakes on their driver's part.
I agree.
It's just been circumstance and bad luck. My goodness.
Diff, an absolute shocker here.
Remember I said earlier, the love fest is over? It really is now.
Dead heat coming out of the pits. Advantage to Romain Grosjean on the hot tires. Scott does the right thing to defend all the way down and just goes so late on the brakes. Loses the back end, Townsend. We didn't see that the first time around. Rear lock, fires him into the 28. No fault to Romain Grosjean there, and just look at the frustration.
That was the day that Grosjean was hoping was going to be the day where he could be called an IndyCar race winner. And neither wanted to give ground, neither wanted to yield.
If Grosjean makes it through that corner, he's winning the race.
Absolutely, absolutely. So hard to claim anything else. Here's on board from Grosjean. Look at how close it was. Having to get on the brakes through turn 3. He knew he was in the catbird seat. And he gave him room. He gave him room. It's just Scott McLaughlin's rear brakes locked up. Here we go. This is the onboard I want to see. You hear the engine start to go quiet, the left hand go down in correction. Scott, you see that correction. McLaughlin knows if he can hold him off through turn 4, he's got a good shot at maintaining that position. So it was everything right there. That was the move for the race win in both of their minds.
And it came down to a simple game of chicken. Who's going to break first? Who's going to give an inch? The answer? Nobody.
Neither.
So the problem is for some of these drivers that hadn't pitted, still running up front, David Malukas, Will Power, Marcus Armstrong in the number 11, they're going to have to be in the pits now and all the way to the back.
Pato O'Ward will cycle to the front, and then you've got 3 Ganassi cars there in with a shot at changing an awkward piece of history. Speaking of awkward, that was ugly. Well, what a weekend is all I can say, and it is not over. Beautiful Florida. to kick off the NTT IndyCar season for 2023, and we're going to be talking about this race this weekend for a long time. And we still have 25 laps to go. The tens of thousands of fans who are here, wherever their vantage points are, have been treated to nothing short of a spectacle. Talk about action. I quite often like to say bring the action. Well, the action certainly has been brought in plentiful ways. What a race. We've had 5 cautions, 2 massive crashes, including a third, the most recent one, that cost 2 guys the possible victory of the Firestone Grand Prix. Now, maybe you've heard of the Barmy Army in cricket, the England cricket supporters on a world scale at the Cricket World Cup. They're the Swedish guys who are here following Marcus Ericsson around in blue and yellow there, and they are very vocal, and they are massive fans of the Indianapolis 500 winner, and they will be cheering beyond belief if Marcus can bring home a Ganassi victory here today.
They appear to be big fans of the hydration station.
I was going to say, they found their way to the horse soldier entertainment area.
Checking out an HCB there.
As you should, but just look at that crowd, guys. I mean, the crowd is huge. The crowd is excited. The crowd is enjoying it. We're a better place to be than St. Pete on a beautiful spring afternoon on a Sunday, watching an incredible motor race unfold. This is just the best.
We say that from the pleasant confines of our air-conditioned NBC booth, but these racing drivers on track have been heat-soaked 5 times through the number of cautions that we've had and all these pace car laps. And you think it's easy, you actually get hotter and more frustrated. The sweat starts pouring down your face when you get a break. And these guys are hanging on now for these last 25 laps.
I know that some of you will have turned on to catch up and catch the final round of the Arnold Palmer Invitational. Need to let you know, because we're still racing here, you can check out the final round. Jordan Spieth in contention at Arnie's tournament at Arnie's place, and it's currently on Golf Channel and on Peacock for that final round of the Arnold Palmer Invitational as we conclude, and we're far from it yet, we conclude this Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. What an eventful day.
And it's not done, Lee.
I know.
It's not done.
I know.
24 laps to go still. We're not quite down to 1 to go before the restart. But if you're sitting at home watching, and I hope you are, grab something to eat, grab a snack, grab a scrumptious beverage,
Tell
and
your
buckle
friends.
up.
Tell your friends
Tell
to
your
watch.
friends to tune in. Get on social media. Let them know NBC has the action. IndyCar has the action. This is going to be a heck of a finish right now.
And these Firestones aren't any cleaner than they were on the previous 4 restarts. So we're going to see some squirrely race cars trying to put the power down, over 700 horsepower on the streets of St. Pete.
Look at the Hitachi Chevy there, Joseph Newgarden.
Look at this.
Who, I know.
Look at the marbles everywhere.
Our old friend and my former F1 commentary partner, David Hobbs, is watching. That's what's technically known in David's world as clag.
Well, I normally call it Oreo cookie crumble, but it's the entire cookie.
Yeah, it is.
But that's part of the problem. If you, on these restarts, you want to look at making a move into turn 1, look what you have to drive through to get that all over your tires. You're on the part of the racetrack that has less rubber anyway, just the marbles. It's so hard to pull off a pass now.
You have seen the full complement of cars left in this race go by in that last camera shot. I want to give some congratulations, and I know it's not over yet, but to IndyCar's smallest team, which is Juncos Hollinger Racing, Ricardo Juncos and Brad Hollinger, and they have done a great job with both of their cars. First time they've had a 2-car operation, and Marty, both of these Chevy-powered cars are in the top 10 for the time being, with rookie Augustine Canapino in 10th. That's a remarkable effort.
Terrific run for those guys. Meanwhile, for Team Penske, disappointment. Kyle Moyer, the strategist for Scott McLaughlin, reached out to him several times. Scott never really said anything back until a moment ago, about 10 minutes after the wreck. He said this, listen.
You deserve better. Sorry. We're okay. We're okay. You were doing great out there. We'll just get through this day here. We're doing fine. A good run there for that stint. You were doing perfect.
Hinch, I cannot imagine the disappointment for this young man who looked in a position to win a 2nd straight St. Pete race, but he won't.
Not this time, but somebody will as the race comes together. You heard that. It's tough, man.
All right, let's get you up to speed if you're just turning on. At the drop of the green for this 100-lap race, Romain Grosjean on the pole, but we didn't even complete a lap.
Well, what would happen with a 27-car field? This. Look at the chain reaction of chaos at the back of the field. That's Devlin DeFrancesco in the green and white car going airborne after huge impact from Benjamin Peterson.
This is Simon Pagenaud. He had, in his words, nowhere to go. Connor Daly found a way through, though.
Threading the needle in the number 20 Bitnile Chevrolet is the 29 of Devlin DiFrancesco. Look at that impact, the energy, just incredible. All drivers okay.
Then this. Check this out. Scott McLaughlin getting out ahead of Romain Grosjean. It was tight.
And that wasn't lap 35, that was more recent. This was lap 36 though. Connor Daly and Kyle Kirkwood getting together. The right-hander leading to the backside of the track.
Scoot ahead to lap 42. More action. Yes, you bet. That's Rinus VeeKay, Jack Harvey, and Kyle Kirkwood gets airborne.
Joseph Newgarden went side by side with Rinus VeeKay. He ends up in the wall, and that starts a chain reaction. Jack Harvey, little shook. Hopefully everything okay with the driver of the 30.
Scott McLaughlin gets a nice gap there on the restart at lap 50. On board here with Will Power as he has a dispute with Colton Herta over real estate. This would lead to a penalty for avoidable contact for Will Power.
Shows you how on the edge the grip is. Barely touches the mid-corner, but Colton flies off the track. And here was the battle for the lead off of pit lane.
That was the shot we showed you a little earlier when this led to this most recent caution. Check this out. McLaughlin on the right, Grosjean on the left. Neither driver willing to yield, and they collide and end up in the tire barrier. The DHL Honda damaged it, goes no further. McLaughlin still in the race, and Pato O'Ward of Arrow McLaren leads this field, leads Ericsson Dixon and his new teammate Alexander Rossi into turn 1.
Top 5 are spread out, but there was all kinds of confusion at the back as somebody got really squirrely off the final corner and stacked up positions 5 through 12.
McLaren, Ganassi, McLaren, Juncos, Hollinger. That's Callum Eilert right there in the green and black car, running in the 5th position. Great drive so far from him. We see Will Power here hunting down Christian Lundgaard, but now Marcus Ericsson has his mirrors full of the blue and orange PNC Bank machine of teammate Scott Dixon.
Did Newgarden get shuffled back there on that restart? Did he get swamped on that restart maybe? Because he seemed to lose several positions.
Somebody got really crossed up in the final corner coming to green. It could have been Newgarden. Let's take a look here. There you see O'Ward,
yeah,
Ericsson, Dixon. I think Pelot got wide and Newgarden kind of followed him wide. Maybe they locked up.
Newgarden was kind of already on the outside edge of Pelot's car, and that's just kind of pushed him into the marbles there. We've talked about that, how hard it is to get the grip back when you've driven offline. But now Pelot in the American Legion car, blue and white, attacking the number 77 of Callum Eilert right in his wheel tracks.
What an opening lap from Pato O'Ward. He's put 2.5 seconds on Marcus Ericsson, and we've got a penalty from race control. Understandably, avoidable contact. Scott McLaughlin will have to do a drive-through. Dave?
We're with Romain Grosjean now. It was to be his day, starting from pole. What happened?
I think what happened was pretty obvious on TV, so I'm not going to elaborate too much on that. I'm very, very disappointed, and I hope there's going to be rules put in place. We had an amazing weekend. We had a super fast car. The team did a really good job, but I'm really annoyed to be talking to you while the race going on.
There was mutual admiration between you and Scott last year. What will you say to him now when you get a chance to talk with him?
No, I still admire what he's done. He's come from V8 supercars and has done an amazing job. Today, I think it's not what we saw on track. Is not racing.
What was it?
I don't know, you tell me, but not racing.
Romain obviously upset, and it was to be his day, Lee. His car was so strong.
Grosjean led 31 laps in this Firestone Grand Prix of St. Pete. Drove so well, and it wasn't to be for either him nor Scott McLaughlin. So who will it be? Pato O'Ward, the ninja, who during his off-season came to visit us at Monster Energy Supercross a couple of times. He loves the two-wheel world, while he's a specialist at the four-wheel world.
His teammate Alexander Rossi holding off Callum Eilert, who's a hard charger here in the closing laps of this race. Rossi's first race with Arrow McLaren. Joins race engineer Craig Hampson, who's had a lot of success here, James, with you at St. Pete. But Callum Eilert, head down, going forward, currently running 5th. Maybe a podium.
You never know with the accidents we've seen. Craig Hampson has won some races with Sebastian Bourdais here as well. Some of the more famous back-to-front stories have come with Craig Hampson running the engineering as we're on board now. The Hitachi on board, Joseph Newgarden. He's behind his teammate Will Power, still trying to make up from that little mix-up on the restart.
not going Team Penske's way today either. It's all McLaren and Ganassi up front.
Callum Ilott had 2 top 10s last year. He had an 8th at the Indy GP and 9th in Portland, but he was poised for some better results than that and got taken out. Nothing to do with himself. There were some issues that prevented him from getting better results when he was in a strong position. This former F2 frontrunner, former Formula One test and reserve driver, he had some teams sniffing around looking for his signature last year, and Ricardo Juncos and Brad Hollinger said, we'd like you to stay here, and we'd like you to stay here for multiple years, and he is repaying their faith right now with this brilliant top 5 drive.
It really is a mature race that is unfolding right now for Callum Ilott, just staying out of trouble, being fast when he needs to. He's not letting Scott Dixon get too far ahead of him. Sorry, Alexander Rossi getting too far ahead of him. But it is a little bit of a train of cars now that's forming up behind Alexander Rossi. Not able to quite keep up with Scott Dixon in front, but it's all Pato O'Ward at the point. Marcus Ericsson now over 2 seconds behind.
Hey guys, Will Power was the 2022 champion by way of 5 poles, but only 1 win.
Yep.
And the most impressive stat, the best worst finish of any driver in the field. On a day with total chaos, with contact with Colton Herta, with a drive-through penalty, Marty, the number 12 driver, is still 8th. And if this is a bad day for Will Power, look out for the balance of this championship once again.
That is so impressive, Townsend, how he's driven through the field. And you got to give credit to Ron Rzuski for making the call to go to alternate tires, which are the ones that have been falling off all day long, Kevin. But they went to those. He is driving through the field right now. Top 5 lap times.
I'm not sure they're going to be able to drive through the field, and it might be partly because of attrition, but they have been making progress throughout the weekend. So let's note Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan. It was very much pointed that last year did not go the way they wanted it to go, and the 2 that have had a chance to race today have moved forward. Graham Rahal is in 7th right now after starting in 20th, and Christian Lundgaard, who's still only 21 years old, has moved up a spot as well. He is in 10th, both in position to score good points to restart their season.
They had a big change in the offseason. Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan, they got a former F1 technical director as their technical director and made some big changes. Perhaps that's what was needed, and they're headed in the right direction. Firestone Grand Prix of St. Pete continues. Pato O'Ward of Arrow McLaren leads the way as we take you to the Pennzoil moment of the race. It's a pretty easy one for our producers to decide because it was for all the marbles between 1 Honda, 1 Chevrolet, 1 Penske, 1 Andretti car. Romain Grosjean fighting Scott McLaughlin down the straight to turn 4, and here's the outcome.
Pit lane blend battle, McLaughlin on cold tires, Grosjean on hot tires, a narrow street circuit, and a lot of desire for race wins. In this case, would have been Grosjean's first win, and here's the result. James, you've heard of the Salvador Dali Museum. This is the Salvador de Lara Memorial Graveyard over here.
Exactly, that's the word I was going to use, the IndyCar graveyard. Look at all the beaten up race cars. Hundreds of thousands of dollars in crash damage done here today. Just terrible. 18th back out.
There are 9 cars out of this 27-car field. It was the largest ever field to start an IndyCar race here, and it has diminished rapidly. By the way, for those of you wanting to check out the Arnold Palmer Invitational, the final round of Arnie's tournament, it is currently on the Golf Channel and Peacock right now from Bay Hill. And that'll be coming up next here on NBC when we conclude this Firestone Grand Prix of St. Pete. I want to give you a medical update on a driver who was involved in one of the multiple spectacular crashes today. And that was British driver for Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan, Jack Harvey. We just got a medical update. You saw Jack struggling when he got out of his car. Medical update from Dr. Visor, the Chief Medical Officer for IndyCar and the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Out of an abundance of caution, we've taken Jack Harvey, who is in a stable condition, to a local hospital for further evaluation, and additional updates will be announced when they become available. Thanks to the medical staff and Dr. Visor for that update, and Jack, feel better soon. He was in a tough situation on a very taxing day.
Hey James, pre-race pick for you, Marcus Ericsson. Look at this. Last 4 laps, the gap is closing, and then let's look at push to pass on the left-hand side. In the pylon, you'll see that of seconds remaining, second, third, and fourth have twice as many seconds as Pato O'Ward. There's 12 laps to go. But there's 12 laps of drama to play out as Pato O'Ward's going to try to hang on for this win. It's not going to be easy, and he's got lap cars up in the distance with, I think that's Connor Daly in the 20 car.
Why are you giving him credit? He didn't pick him for the win. He picked him for a podium.
I mean, hey, I'm still in the good then, so I'm not sure what we're trying to accomplish there, but
no points for second place, my friend.
Hey, look, this is what Marcus Ericsson did so well through the first half of last season. He just held on to those good results, even when the car maybe wasn't the best, took advantage of situations. That's what he's doing here now. He had a car that was on track for a podium last year at this race. A penalty hurt him. But now he is knocking out the laps. He's won on a street circuit before. He's won it twice, actually, Detroit and Nashville. He loves the street circuits, does Marcus Ericsson. But, I mean, you've got a multi-time race winner in front of you. You've got your teammate and 6-time IndyCar champion behind you. I mean, it's great company. It's going to be a tough program to pull off. Look how Pato O'Ward goes a little bit wider in that last corner. Marcus Ericsson really able to kind of hug that inside line, stay a bit more in line, and it's down to 0.7 of a second. He is hunting him down.
11 laps to go. Make that 10 now as they complete another stretch down this 2,200 feet long front stretch at Albert Whitted Airport. Final 10 for Pato O'Ward. Here are the Firestone biggest movers of the race. Look at Callum Ilott up 17 positions. Graham Rahal up 13 and Connor Daly up 10.
And remember that Connor Daly got spun around and was a lap down. He still is a lap down, but he's running 10 places higher.
And Graham Rahal saved his car from going in the tyre wall at turn 4 by about an inch.
Well, and once again, how many times over how many years have we talked about Graham Rahal's racecraft?
Yeah.
Just excellent. Staying out of trouble, finding pace in the race. But on Friday, I mean, Graham couldn't hit a piñata if it was laying next to him in bed. And here we are once again on race day. He figures out how to get himself into high point scoring positions.
This is a big turnaround straight away for the new season. 2 Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan cars in the top 10. Here's Marty Snyder. Marty?
9 laps for Pato O'Ward left to get the first win of the season. I had an interesting conversation with him on Friday. He said after the 2021 season, he left the last IndyCar race of the year and immediately went to F1 testing. He spent the entire offseason working, and then he went into 2022. He told me miserable. He said, I never got a break. So he told Zach Brown, who heads up McLaren Racing, I want 6 weeks off. Don't call me, don't text me, don't ask me for anything. I need that time to unplug. And he told me I'm a completely different driver this year. I feel so much different coming into this season versus last year. So Hinch, for a full-time driver, even though IndyCar's only 17 races, how important is it to unplug like that?
It is so important for any athlete to be able to have that escape, have that recharge. And yeah, the season may only be from March to September, but they keep you busy with simulator work, with sponsor appearances. You're training constantly in the gym. It is so important for some drivers to be able to get away, unplug, relax, go home. He was hanging with friends, with family, and just sort of hitting the reset button. And look, you can't argue with the results. Qualified third, and through circumstance, you know, he stayed out of trouble. He is now leading this race with just a handful of laps to go.
I'm just laughing at the thought of telling your boss and F1 team principal, hey, dude, don't call me. I would never.
Hey, there's the Husky Chocolate Honda for Chip Ganassi Racing. Let's listen to some recent radio from the 8.
You're waiting on the exits here, Marcus. Pato's struggling with traction and power down, so let's focus on that. You still have the overtake advantage.
Some good helpful words for the Swedish driver, the Indianapolis 500 winner of 2022. As far as push to pass, Ericsson has twice the amount of push to pass as Pato O'Ward does.
On the radio, you heard the voice of Taylor Kyle, who used to be calling Pato O'Ward's race. 1 year ago, he was on the 5 stand, switched over to Chip Ganassi Racing. He had worked with Marcus when Marcus had a stint at that team prior, and now they're reunited, and so far it's a great start.
And what did Taylor Kyle do for the last 2 seasons at Arrow McLaren with Pato O'Ward? Coached him over and over again to take care of his rear tires. So nobody knows better than Taylor Kyle what to expect out of Pato O'Ward in these closing 7 laps. Look who's lurking there in third. Old Dixie.
Always lurking. Always lurking. Could have been a totally different race for Scott Dixon if that yellow had not come out when he was in the pits. He was due to cycle all the way through to the lead. Ended up having to take that restart in 5th. This car could very well have been leading this train had it been a yellow, I'm talking 10 seconds later in the day.
This has been a massive offseason for Arrow McLaren right there, front and center for Pato O'Ward. for Zach Brown, for everybody involved, bringing on a third car with Alexander Rossi, huge signing, getting Rossi away from Andretti Autosport, hiring more than 40 new staff. The human resource element of McLaren is massive. And here they are, out in front, and this team, whether it be in the guise of Schmidt-Peterson Racing, Arrow McLaren SP, or just Arrow McLaren, they've never won here on the streets of St. Petersburg. Today could be a first.
And it's about to get a little more interesting because up ahead of Pato O'Ward's Connor Daly, who's stuck behind Stingray Robb right now. Stingray Robb is about 2 seconds a lap slower that last lap than the leaders. So we could get to lap traffic factoring into this before this is over.
The one thing to remember, Connor Daly is a lap down to the entire field at this point, which means when the leader Pato O'Ward catches up to him, he will be given the command blue flag and have to move over. If he was just at the tail of the lead lap, it wouldn't be the problem. The problem for Joseph Newgarden,
big
huge fire on the left rear of that
fire
car.
on the left side there. Fire in the left side there. Just smoke, fire.
Go straight, Joseph. There's a fire truck right there. He's going to try to get it back around to pit lane. That's a serious amount of flame.
Oh yeah, on the Hitachi Chevy, that is not a great sign for a good comeback drive for Joseph Newgarden today. Pit this lap is the call.
Gotta think some oil is going to be on the track over there in the final corner. O'Ward needs to be careful here.
He needs to be careful because Marcus Ericsson and that Husky Chocolates machine is absolutely hunting him still. He's getting closer, guys.
4.5 laps to go, Hinch.
And pretty soon here, you're going to see those lap cars. I take what you said about Connor Daly being a lap down, but Stingray Robb is on the lead lap.
This is a mirror of last year, just different drivers and different teams. There's Stingray Robb, there's Connor Daly, and then looking back down the straight as they come out of the bend and head towards turn 10, Pato O'Ward, Marcus Ericsson. It is tight, just half a second, and the next time by there'll be just 4 laps left. Penske crew looking after Joseph Newgarden in that fire. What a shame, his day's come to an end. And that's going to cycle.
Stingray Robb just did a 105.4. Pato O'Ward in the low 102s. So this is going to help Ericsson and Dixon as O'Ward gets closer.
It's shades of last year all over again. You remember Scott McLaughlin came up on Tatiana Calderon, and then later in the closing laps, like where we are now, came up on the back of Devlin DiFrancesco and had Alex Palou all over the back of him. Now it's Pato O'Ward and Marcus Ericsson.
And setting up for another nail-biting finish here at the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. Scott Dixon still lurking in the background as well, only a second and a half back.
You have a Chevy leading, 2 Hondas chasing, and a lapped Honda up ahead.
Oh, are you saying there might be some politics played here, Townsend?
Conspiracy.
Some team games, some manufacturer games?
Quick reminder, we'll have a post-race show on Peacock, and when we are done here, we will switch over to golf to the Arnold Palmer Invitational, the final round at Bay Hill, but we're not done yet. Not done yet. Pato O'Ward could win at St. Petersburg.
Oh, guys, problem.
Is something wrong with him? Ericsson to the lead.
He had a huge slide coming off the corner, and he must have had a misshift. Maybe there was an overboost. That's an engine situation that temporarily limits power, and the lead now has gone to Marcus Ericsson.
Did you see him smash the steering wheel inside the cockpit? O'Ward furious.
Now Scott Dixon up on the wheel. He knows something happened there to the number 5 of Pato O'Ward. This is Dixon's opportunity to get to second, but boy, that's got to sound painful to Dixon. Second again if he gets by.
That's such a bizarre thing that happened. I saw a big wheel spin moment. Just watch. You see the orange car, Pato O'Ward, in the middle of the top of your screen there. He comes off. He gets a little sideways right there. You see that wiggle, and then it's almost, I wonder if when he corrected, he hit the pit lane speed limit button.
Or did he grab an upshift with the correction?
Let's listen. It's pit lane speed limit. I'm almost sure of it. As he went to correct the oversteer, he hit the pit lane speed limit button, and it immediately stopped the engine.
I heard a lot of chunking, almost like it was a gearbox situation.
Hey, Hinch, they just told him on the radio it was a plenum event. Can you unpack that for us?
Overboost.
I can, yes. So this is something that happens in the air intake of the engine. It's a mixture of fuel and air that ignites and creates a temporary explosion. When you have a small explosion, that sucks all the oxygen out of the intake. The engine is
is starved and it's not able to produce power. It does happen, especially in these humid conditions. These engines are running on the ragged edge. It's so tough to get them to run flawlessly, and just a small little issue there cost Pato O'Ward the lead of the race with 2 laps to go.
I was walking through the paddock last night at the conclusion of the day. There was one team left in the paddock area putting the finishing touches on their car. Which car was it? It was the Husky Chocolate Honda. Brad Goldberg, the engineer, and all of the crew were working late to put the finishing touches on this car, and their extra work is going to be repaid in less than 2 miles' time. Marcus Ericsson leads the way. In the illustrious history of Chip Ganassi Racing, they have come up short here. In 19 previous races, the team has only won once, and that was thanks to the legend Dario Franchitti way back in 2011. Can Marcus Ericsson, the Indy 500 winner of a year ago, guide Chip's team to victory here in Florida?
He got his first NTT IndyCar Series win on the streets of Detroit. He backed it up later that year, 2021, with a victory in the streets in Nashville. Of course, he is your 2022 Indy 500 champion, but now looking to take his 4th series win on the streets again, this time in St. Pete.
And on a chaotic day by the water with the boats in view, it's been a steady hand on the tiller for Ericsson. Captain-like performance.
Well, he drove like we have never seen him drive to win the Indianapolis 500 last May. And now Marcus Ericsson in the Husky Chocolate Honda is a winner again, but this time on the streets of St. Petersburg. Delivers Chip Ganassi the first victory of a new season in the most eventful race.
Yes! Good job. Great job. Thank you. Thank you.
And those fanatical Swedish Marcus Ericsson supporters who are here are going to be going wild, because he adds another street course victory to his resume. In addition to the Indianapolis 500, he has 3 street course race wins. How about that? Ericsson starts this 23 season in the best possible way. We will have a whole lot of interviews and post-race follow-up over on Peacock to conclude and to unwrap what has been the most eventful day here in St. Pete.
The sneaky Swede did it again on a day when so many pros made big mistakes, so much carnage on the racetrack, kept his cool, kept his calm, and rewarded with his 4th career victory.
If there's that cluster of crazy Swedish fans that have been waiting for this moment all weekend, it could be a wild night in St. Pete for the 8 team.
So great to have you with us on this first day back for the NTT IndyCar Series for the 2023 season. Congratulations to Marcus Ericsson. Coming up next, right here on NBC, is the final round of the Arnold Palmer Invitational from Bay Hill. Thanks for watching IndyCar Racing here on your home of motorsport. We'll see you next from Texas Motor Speedway. Golf up next, but stay with us on Peacock.
What a drive from Marcus Ericsson, who wins at St. Pete. Just the 2nd win ever for Chip Ganassi Racing here in the streets of St. Pete. And Marcus does it once again. So impressive last year. Now he wins race number 1 of 2023. Boy, what was your thought, Marcus, when you saw the 5 have the issue? I knew you were catching him, but what was your thought when you saw him have that issue off that final corner with 2 to go?
It's our day, I think. That was my thought. Obviously, that's racing. You know, I feel bad for Pato for having an issue, but that's racing. You need to get there to the finish line, and we were having such a good weekend. The car was fantastic all the way through, and we were hunting him down, putting the pressure on, and you know, that when things happen. So really proud of the Husky Chocolate team and Chip Ganassi Racing. That was a hell of a start to the season.
What'd you tell me Friday? People forget we had a top 3 car here last year. You had that penalty, you had to serve it, drove back through the field. Is this vindication a little bit?
It is, and I think people forget us in some conversations as well, you know, when they talk about the championship. We're here to win. We won the 500 last year. We were leading the championship for a long time. That's our mission this year, so this is a good start to it.
Yeah, you like flying below the radar. I don't think you're going to be able to fly below the radar much longer.
I don't mind that. That's all right. Bring it on.
How about Taylor Kyle getting his first win in his first race with you?
Yeah, he's been a great addition to the team. Taylor has come in and, you know, brought a lot of experience and you know, energy, and he's been great working with so far. And, you know, win on your first try, it doesn't get much better than that. So, you know, I'm very thankful to Taylor, but the whole Husky Chocolate team, you know, and Honda as well. You know, the Honda engines were great all weekend, and it's just, yeah, it's such a great start to the season.
I love what he said. He said, I don't care what people think. We're here to win, and we're here to be in the championship contention all year long, Dave.
Well, and with Pato O'Ward, obviously a little different situation down here. Your team asked you to have a good scream in the helmet before you pulled in here. Talk about the day.
We did everything right today. It's just, there's always something, and just the boys deserve that. Yeah, Dallas is next, so we'll fight for that one. And you know, compared to where we were last year here, it's a massive step. We gave that one away. We can't have that happen anymore. Like, I know we're second, but yeah.
Pato, was anything different in turn 14 that lap? Did you do anything different? Did you feel anything different?
No, there was a plenum fire in the engine, and it shut off. So.
And it's just random.
Yeah.
All right. That's the way it goes sometimes in racing. We hate it for Pato. As he said, second place today, Kevin.
Well, unfortunately, there are more drivers that are disappointed. Scott McLaughlin looked like he might be able to back up his first win with another win here. Tell me about the incident with Grosjean and both of you into the tires.
Look, first and foremost, I'm very sorry to Romain, and he's a friend of mine, and I know we were both going for the win there, and I just made a big mistake. I tried to push on cold tires. I just didn't have the grip on the inside there like I did on the greens, and locked the rears, and yeah, unfortunately we made wheel contact that time, and it just took us both out. So look, I don't race like that. I apologize. I feel like I've had plenty of good battles with many good drivers. Yeah, just got it from my Dex Imaging Chevy crew. I think the Dex Imaging car was great. The Chevy fuel mileage was great. I just made a stuff up, man, and you have those, you have the good days, you have your bad days, and I really do apologize to Romain, and I'll go see him soon.
If there's any consolation, several other championship contenders did not have good points days. And I heard Kyle Morey, your strategist on the radio, is that, okay, this is one, we'll go get him the next time. How do you try to quickly regroup with some time off?
I don't care about that right now. I concentrate on my own mistakes, and yeah, I need to be better than that. I need to make better decisions, but ultimately I think I was just racing for the win, man. I knew we could have had a chance if I got out in front of him at turn 4 there, and yeah, big apology. I just was racing hard, man, and I promise I don't race like that. I just, yeah, very gutted. But anyway, we finished the race. But yeah, I'll go man up and go see Romain now.
Okay, thanks, Scott. Lee.
If you don't think that this means a lot to these guys, all you have to look at is this and think about Pato O'Ward's interview where he could barely speak. This was a massive day on many levels.
There's a significant story for all 27 of the drivers in this race today, James. You had, you know, surviving accidents, just the health and safety of the drivers. You had the trials and tribulations that get into the front. I mean, so many ways to remember today. We thought it might be memorable. It certainly was. But for Marcus Ericsson, I just love the edge I'm seeing out of him. It's what I think was missing previously, was this killer fighter mentality to go after wins, and you can see him leaves here with the points lead.
Yeah, you're going to remember some bad days for Andretti Autosport, for Penske Racing, but Chip Ganassi Racing, McLaren, good days. Guys, Callum Ilott, top 5.
Unreal.
How about that performance from the Juncos Hollinger Racing driver? And Canapino finished 12th, just one spot behind Marcus Armstrong in that battle for Rookie of the Year, so a great result for that team.
I said to some of the guys last night at the team, I said, your man, Marcus Ericsson, he seems to have some swagger about him right now, and they said he sure does.
Yeah, you can hear it in that interview.
Yeah.
He's basically saying, we are here as winners. We should be here. We belong here. We will be here going forward. Look out, IndyCar. Husky Chocolate at the front.
You know, he talked after qualifying about one of their big focuses for 2023 being qualifying itself. He got himself into the Fast Six, started up in position 4, and that's what sets you up to capitalize on other people's mistakes. He didn't drive his way to the front, he knows that,
Yeah.
but you put yourself in the position to win and you execute when you get those opportunities.
Dave, it's another one that's got away from Scott Dixon, but knowing Scott, I know that he'll be pleased for his team.
Well, it was another podium for sure, Diff, for Scott Dixon. At one point, we thought it was possibly going to be a win. Caution while you were on pit road, was that the difference?
I think we would have cycled out probably in the same spot. Well, actually, I think we would have jumped them, right? You know, we would have got them, so that was definitely frustrating, you know, to be on the bad side of that. I didn't realize the blend line was so far back. One car would have been okay, but I think there was 4 that they let by us. But again, feel sorry for Felix and getting into him at the start of the race. You know, we're good mates and never want to do that, and hope everybody is okay in the crash. But yeah, the PNC Bank number 9 was fantastic all day. I think Honda did a tremendous job to get the fuel mileage that we needed and kind of create that environment where we could pick and choose where we needed to pit. But the Reds were great too. So wild race, man. A lot of caution laps, a lot of restarts, and you know, just super happy to finish up front, have a clean race, grab some great points, and it's always fun to be driving a Honda, man.
The vet avoided almost all the drama today, Marty.
Dave, it's a party in Victory Lane. I swear I just saw Chip Ganassi dancing, and it's fun to dance in the streets of St. Pete, a place that Chip has not been the greatest to Chip Ganassi racing.
This track's not been one of our best, but we had good cars this weekend. We were right there. And you know, you have to put yourself in a position to take advantage of luck. I say that all the time, and that's what we did today, you know, with Marcus. And we was right there pressuring him. He had more push to pass than O'Ward did, so I don't know what would have happened there. Another on that last lap, it would have been close, but fortunately we're not going to find out. But we're happy, obviously.
Chip, I love the confidence that he relayed to me in his answer a moment ago. He said, people underestimate us, but we're here to win, and we're here to win a championship. Is he too undervalued in this series?
You know, since Marcus won at Indianapolis last year, he stepped it up a lot, okay? Stepped it up, always asking questions, always working with his engineer, always working with his team. Fitness-wise, he's always in the gym. I mean, the guy stepped it up, and it shows. It shows in his performance here.
There you go, Marcus Ericsson, Chip Ganassi Racing in Victory Lane and celebrating and even dancing a little bit, Kevin.
Alexander Rossi doesn't quite get to the podium, but I would think all things considered with the way the weekend started, does 4th seem pretty good?
Yeah, I'm really happy with that. You know, I think days like today are about maximizing what you have, and you know, I think the car was good. It missed a little bit of ultimate pace, but where we came from on Friday, you know, the whole Arrow McLaren organization did an amazing job to kind of bounce back from that. We had 3 cars in the top 12. Pato was in contention to win. Obviously, Felix was a strong car, and it's unfortunate what happened to him. So a really good start to the season, and I think we're only going to get stronger from here.
Did you have any close calls in all of the melees and mishaps we had today? What kind of view did you have of this wildest race we've seen in a long time?
Yeah, I think we all knew it was going to be a little chaotic based on practice and qualifying. But yeah, my closest moment was actually with Colton on the second restart through turns 2 and 3, and it was a little wild for the 2 of us. But yeah, I mean, ultimately that was kind of the only dramas, and the rest was just about, you know, taking off the laps and understanding the car as it evolved. Really, that's the first time I've used this car in any sort of long running race conditions, fuel save or whatever. So a lot of information to take away from here, and certainly looking forward to this little gap to reset ourselves.
I think we've talked about this before. This is a process, not just you acclimating the team, but a brand new car added to the program. And then you get a good result of that. How much does this put you ahead of the game at this point? Because we all think you're going to be better as you move forward.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think we're for sure only going to get stronger as we spend more time. I mean, today was our 5th day working together, so it's only going to continue to evolve, and I have a great group of guys and girls around me, and really proud to be a part of this organization, and just can't wait to continue to improve upon our weaknesses. And Texas is a place the team's always been really good at, and so can't wait to get there and put on a show for everyone.
4th place on debut for Alexander Rossi with Arrow McLaren. Dave.
Top 5 day for Juncos Hollinger Racing. Callum Eilot with that 5th place. A long way from the start on Friday, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, I mean, well, Friday was a bit closer, but Saturday was not our day. Honestly, I think we improved throughout the weekend and managed to put down a good race car today. Yeah, I forgot I started 22nd, so I came from a long way back. Honestly, kept it cool. You know, I lost out a little bit because I was playing it on the safe side, but those restarts were so slippy. So obviously losing a couple of places, but when people were overdoing it, that was when I was able to capitalize. So What a race, what a day, what a start. Yeah, big thank you to everyone, obviously all our sponsors as well. It's great. So we'll work hard. Obviously Texas next, quite a bit of a change, but this was one of our weakest weekends last year. So able to come in with the top 5 is not what I expected, but I think that sets a good start for the year.
Callum, you mentioned starting 22nd. How did you avoid all the carnage? It started early and it was in the back.
Yeah, I got a little tap. I think Renus went, we were both trying to avoid it and we both kind of banged wheels. Luckily, I don't think there was any damage, maybe a little bit with the toe, but yeah, I just kept it tight. Again, I was just trying to be calm. It's the first race of the season. A lot of people will be trying to go forwards, but with the tailwind, with the new tarmac, especially with the greens, there was a lot of pickup and the track was quite dirty. So sometimes you don't want to play it safe, but it was a good day to do that.
Very good day indeed. 5th for Callum Ilott. Marty?
Somehow, Will Power laughing about his 7th place finish. What a crazy day for him. I have to start, though, with the contact with Colton Herta. He was not very happy. What's your take on that? He said you didn't give him enough room.
Yeah, I mean, we like banged all the way in, and I went up the inside, and I had as much luck as I could, and I feel bad that it ruined his day, but I thought he was like, for sure he knew I was there. Like, I'm up his inside and I just understeer, and it wasn't like just a big dive bomb. It was, well, I'm here, and he kind of hung around the outside, and I was, yeah, man, I hate to ruin anyone's day. I do. I hate that. I always like, I like to race these guys clean, and he races me clean, so I feel really bad that he ended up out, and, I was able to keep going. But it's still a very good day for us. Really happy to get the Verizon car in the top 10. Very, very hectic day.
Yeah, is that one where you need to have a chat with Colton after this or not?
Yeah, definitely. Talk to him, just let him know. I thought you knew I was there, and it was sort of cold tires as marbles, and I had as much lock in to try and give him as much room, and my thing was just pushing on. So yeah, just unfortunate. Always feel bloody bad about incidents like that.
Well, the impressive thing, though, after that penalty, restarted at the back of the pack, drove his way up to 7th. Kevin, a good finish for Will Power and Team Penske.
And Graham Rahal had to start relatively near the back of the pack, and he drove forward, finishes 6th, got another spot late in the race. How was your day?
Yeah, it was a really sound day. I had one mistake there on one of the restarts, but United Rentals guys did a hell of a job today. I'm very proud of them, and good day for Turns for Troops. Raised a lot of money to help our veterans, and I thought the Honda engine was really strong for me this week as well. So, I know this weekend didn't start the way we wanted. Somebody else just asked me, well, what was the trick to turn around? Literally, it was brakes, and that's not an exaggeration. Once we swapped the brakes, the weekend got a heck of a lot better, and, in the race we're able to challenge, so it felt good.
What did you think of this race, kind of? And you'll probably see a lot more things when you go home and watch the replay, but from your view in the cockpit.
Yeah, Dad and I got about a 6-hour drive tonight back to his place, so I'm sure we'll rerun it. But look, it was craziness, and for me, I just thought it was all about whoever was going to be smartest was going to find themselves in the front in the end, stay off the walls. Luckily, I didn't brush any today, which was an accomplishment in its own. The one error maybe cost me a couple of positions, or one position at least to Ilott in the end, but our guys did a good job, and it's a crazy race. I hope I know there's a lot of yellow, but you're not going to get anything more entertaining than that. Is every time you try to pass somebody, it's completely risky. I mean, every time, and so all the moves we made, I was holding my breath constantly, but we made it through. We got guys to make errors, and that's what we need to do, and off to Texas we go.
Lee, like he always seemingly does, Graham Rahal moved forward massively. 14 spots gained today.
Incredible from two of those recent drivers we heard from, Callum Ilott and Graham Rahal. Ilott made up 17 positions, Rahal made up 14. And this is generally the theme of what's to come here in St. Pete. If you're on the Marcus Ericsson bandwagon, that's for sure.
Going to be a good night for those guys.
You know how I see them on the bow of your yacht over there, James, tonight.
Yeah, I love the camaraderie between all the drivers here. You hear the respect. Guys like Will Power, Scott McLaughlin saying, hey, it's not how I race. I don't want to have that contact. but sometimes that's how racing goes.
We didn't talk about him much in this race. Let's give a shout out to David Malukas. He and Christian Lundgaard.
Damaged front wing.
Yeah.
And he held on to that thing. They didn't change into pit stop. As you say, Christian Lundgaard, the second Rahal Letterman-Lanigan driver in the top 10 there. Great drive from both of those young drivers.
Who else gets your eye there? How about Canapino?
Those top 10 survivors and Marcus Armstrong, another Chip Ganassi driver, 2 rookies coming 11th and 12th. And for Canapino, with essentially no open wheel experience, never been to this racetrack, to stay out of trouble, to finish every lap, finish on the lead lap, of course, very impressive.
I think we made mention of this a little earlier. How about some props for Connor Daly, too? Made up 12 positions, got spun, was in the tyre barrier in turn 8.
Tough break for this group here. Obviously, first and foremost, we just hope Jack Harvey's okay and back in the saddle in time for Texas. But yeah, most of these drivers didn't see much past the first lap after that phenomenal accident we saw on the start of the race. But these guys doing the hat dance. Happy to be out of the cars, getting a bit of breeze, bit of water, and a bit of champagne.
We make so much about the Ganassi-Penske battle and those 3 Penske winners that Roger Penske enjoys. How about Chip Ganassi? Think about Ericsson, Palou, and Dixon now, what they've all accomplished. I mean, man, talk about a battle that should continue all season long through the Indy 500 and down the stretch to Laguna Seca. And then you think about the strength of Arrow McLaren and the strength of Andretti Autosport, which was unrealized but demonstrated. Guys, this championship, feel like we say it every year, but this has the makings of the most epic battle we've ever seen.
Going to be a tough one for sure. And for the Andretti Autosport crew, almost all of those drivers were hit by someone else.
Yeah.
It wasn't really unforced errors on their part. So just a tough day for that squad.
When something gets taken away from you that you have no control over, we can't say definitively that would have been a Pato Award victory, but it was out of his hands, and look at his face. It's going to take a long time to get over, but maybe he'll get over it at a place that he loves and performs well at, which is Texas Motor Speedway, that next event in the NTT IndyCar Series for 2023, Sunday, April 2nd. You'll see it on NBC. In fact, the first 7 rounds, so the next 6, are all on network television on NBC, which we are thrilled to tell you about. There is so much to relive, to talk about, to unpack, to review, and to debrief from this opening round. It was wild, to say the least.
Exhausting if you're one of these 27 drivers, whether you won, crashed, or had a mechanical. It's been a tough day, James.
It's all about emotion, and great to see a ton of that, both good and bad here in St. Pete.
So great to have you with us. We'll see you from Texas Motor Speedway next month.